It's been a tough year, one that's been horrifying. From the world stage to how we're feeling as people, it feels like all the chaos just keeps mounting. I just want to get out of this. I just feel like I'm losing in everything. I just feel like I'm about to break. It's difficult to try and grasp the reality of the situation. Once again, we find ourselves at the end of another intense year here on Earth, one that has led me and many others to be perplexed about the future, and to seek shelter via other means. This year, we've traveled to places we've never been before, which has provided positive and negative experiences. We're officially in the halfway point of the 2020s, a decade birthed via a pandemic and defined by its aftermath. As the world has moved on from the past worldwide crisis, it has still faced economic issues, such as inflation, political instability across many countries, and full-on upheaval, whether it be through legal means or full-on revolutions. 2024 was defined by its electoral results across the planet Earth, with shocking events constantly being thrown at the general public, all in the time span of 365 days. The complexity of 2024 should not be understated, as global issues that have continued to plague the world for years are finally being tested and sought to be destroyed or redefined. This method of replacement, or seeking to destroy the establishment, is only normal for us humans. If you look at all of world history, nothing ever stays the same forever, and the entire world tends to, time and time again, be restructured. Knowing that, change isn't for everyone as well. The world is consumed by mixed reactions about change, as who really knows if we should disrupt the system so much? This year was another stepping stone to the bigger story of the 2020s decade, and a year that I would suggest to be one of the most crucial. As we head to the quarter landmark of the 21st century, I intend to cover the cultural and political trends of 2024. Everything and anything I could find noteworthy to discuss in this giant essay of a video, including when it comes to how I'm feeling and how you are feeling as well. That's right, to my dear viewer, I'd like to hear about how you are doing. 2024 had many victories and losses, so it's only right to ask about how the year impacted us as the world's news stories continued to surmount. As for myself, I have to deal with the reckoning of where I am as well. I started recapping the years when I was 17 years old, and now at the age of 25, I find that adult life can have its wider range of emotions and consequences. I've accepted that I will cover each year until the day I am no longer able to do so. I'm here for the long haul, to be a steward of chronicling planet Earth. There's a part of me that hates the idea of missing out on another historic year and not covering it. This is my annual mission, and I intend to tell you all the highs and lows, but to also seek to look inwardly at ourselves as we all reached a boiling point this year. Today, on December 31st, we will chronicle the year that was. Not only that, but we will also take a good hard look at ourselves and predict where we're heading. Let's get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, and fellow historians, this was the year known as 2024. Well guys, we're back at it again. 2024 in the United States was clouded by an election year that took no time to kick off, so much so that during the New Year's Eve 2024 ball drop in New York City, the band Green Day made a political statement by changing a lyric to their iconic song, American Idiot, which was celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, and decided to make it politically relevant to 2024.
Well, maybe I'm the American. I'm running part of the MAGA agenda.
The reaction to this was either praise or ridicule, setting the stage for a contentious and highly divided year when it came to the American public. At the beginning, it seemed as if Donald Trump was going to easily lock in a third nomination for president under the Republican Party, while President Joe Biden seemed assured to be nominated by the Democrats later in the summer. On January 1st, 2024, a 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck Japan, contributing to 475 fatalities, becoming the strongest earthquake to hit the Noto Peninsula since records began in 1885. It was a brutal start to a grueling year. 2024 marked Steamboat Willie's entrance into the public domain, meaning that the classic version of Mickey Mouse that everyone knows and loves was able to be used in any indie person's project, whether it be good or bad, and it was mostly for bad. A movie came out known as Mousetrap, which was a film about Steamboat Willie's Mickey Mouse walking around killing people, which sucked, and is honestly one of the most uninteresting ways to try and use the character. One of 2024's first major arcs was the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Epstein, who was a major child trafficker and abuser, and who had many powerful connections with celebrities and politicians, had died 5 years prior in his prison cell, leading to many theories believing that someone or some people were trying to shut him up. The files, although interesting, didn't provide many new names or details. Bill Clinton was mentioned, leading to him to have this weird confrontation about it.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No.
Clinton denies having any knowledge of Epstein's crimes, while Prince Andrew was also mentioned, but we already knew he was a weirdo. Trump was mentioned as well, alongside Stephen Hawking, who was also name-dropped. All the Epstein drama led to New York Jets quarterback implying that the late-night show host, Jimmy Kimmel, was going to be on the Epstein file list.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't...
To which Kimmel called Rogers an asshole for even suggesting that he was on the list, and also threatening legal action against him. Note, Jimmy Kimmel was not on the list, so no worries to the 2 people in my audience who love Jimmy Kimmel. He's safe. On January 2nd, the Democratic Party leader of South Korea, Lee Jae-myung, was stabbed on the left side of his neck while visiting a construction site. 2 years prior, Lee had barely lost in the South Korea presidential election to Yoon Suk-yeol, who we will be discussing much later in this video. Lee survived his assassination attempt, with the stabbing only digging in 1 centimeter into his neck and leading to minor bleeding. On the same day, a plane catched fire in Japan after colliding with another small plane, bursting into flames as it taxied on the runway. Shockingly, and thankfully, all 300 passengers on the plane were able to survive the fire, managing to get off the plane safely. However, 5 crew members on the Coast Guard plane that hit the airline perished. Also on January 2nd, the president of Harvard, Claudine Gay, was forced to resign after accusations of plagiarism and anti-Semitism came to light. She was unable to say whether calls for genocide of Jews on the Harvard campus would violate the school's conduct policy. I mean, serious, oh my god, why didn't she just say yes? It would violate the conduct policy. You guys remember Gypsy Rose? She had a complicated case in which her mom subjected her to a long era of abuse via physical, medical, and mental anguish, leading to her to kill her mother. She went to prison but then got out early, and immediately after she got out, she made a new guy and then started bragging about her husband's quote, sex game being fire. Why was this news? I don't know. On January 3rd, Twitch made a big move. After weeks of deciding whether or not Twitch streamers could be nude or not on stream, they decided to ban implied nudity, stripping the content of many lewd streamers. This headache of policy that confused Twitch users finally came to an end, and I'm just glad I stopped seeing images of Tectone naked, only covered up by a censor, on my Twitch feed. On the same day, a Las Vegas man jumped on a judge during his sentencing, which ended up becoming one of the first memes of 2024. Also on January 3rd, an attack claimed to be responsible by ISIS took place in Iran, killing over 100 people. Tragedy only continued to mount, as on January 4th, an Iowa school shooting took place, which took the lives of 2 people. Once again, lawmakers called for a debate on gun control, but nothing happened. By January 5th, a Miami mall was at the center of the conversation. A huge police presence in Miami led to conspiracies that there was a 10-foot tall alien running amok, causing fear to mall goers, but that the reports of the alien running around were being covered up. In reality, it was a group of 50 teenagers setting off fireworks, which led to panic that there was a shooting, but there wasn't. But still, the fireworks setting off was enough to cause much alarm. Of course, there are various conspiracies surrounding the event, but from the footage I have seen, yeah man, it was just a bunch of teenagers. There was a news anchor who went after a 13-year-old beating Tetris for the NES. For context, this was a week after his father passed away, and he dedicated the win to his dad, so the news anchor looked like an asshole.
As a mother, I would just say step away from the screen, go outside, get some fresh air. Beating Tetris is not a life goal.
Never fear, however, because on the eve of the 3rd annual January 6th, Joe Biden nearly called Donald Trump a sick fuck for what happened at the Capitol.
He laughed about it. What a sick...
Speaking of the Capitol, in January I found myself traveling there to meet up with a bunch of friends. Once again, it was amazing to see all the various monuments that the Capitol had to offer. The sights were incredible, even in the coldness of winter. The various Smithsonians provided a lot to take in. My friend James filmed this.
So Larry.
No.
It's 2024.
Yeah.
Alright, so your 2023 video just came out like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the intro to your 2024 video. How do you feel?
And my friend Josh and I visited Circle Tunes up north as well. And yes, we did have a comically timed trip at the Capitol on January 6th, and where we got a tour. Oh, and I visited the White House once again, so that was pretty cool. Overall, DC is an incredible experience. If you guys haven't gone yet, you really should. It was a great trip to begin the year, and where I would find myself back in familiar and unfamiliar locations amid many things happening in my life. We'll get more personal later. On January 7th, there was somehow Steve Harvey controversy when Cat Williams accused Steve Harvey of stealing a concept for a 1990 sitcom from another comic, thus eventually leading to Steve Harvey for being as huge as he is today. Eventually, Steve Harvey would detest this rumor and call William a little punk ass. Also on the same day, there was a man in Alabama who got naked and swam inside the aquarium tank at a Bass Pro Shop. More power to him, I guess. I like me some Bass Pro Shop, but not by that much. More plane troubles continued to occur when an Alaskan airline plane had a window blown out during flight, causing the plane to have to land. No one was hurt, but it does show that a lot of these planes that we fly often are getting old and can be so easily prone to have parts fly out. In Fort Worth, a hotel blew up in a giant eruption. Federal investigators found a gas leak was to blame for the explosion, with victims filing lawsuits against the hotel. On January 8th, Joe Biden was interrupted in Charleston by Gaza ceasefire protesters. They chanted ceasefire now until they were escorted out, in which the rest of the members in that building tried to morph the chants into 4 more years.
This is going to go on for a while. They got this planned.
We have to be real here. At the beginning of 2024, Joe Biden's approval numbers were looking bad, with only 39% of voters approving of his job as president. This re-election year would prove to be difficult for him. Meanwhile, at the same time, former President Donald Trump put out a controversial statement wishing for the economy to crash within the next 12 months, as it would help benefit his campaign against Biden. On January 10th, an Ecuador TV studio was hijacked by a gang following the escape of 2 of Ecuador's most powerful gang leaders. One of the gunmen said, "Quiet, we are on air so that you know that you cannot play with the mafia." The gunmen were eventually arrested and charged with terrorism. Jewish tunnels. For some reason, this was driving Twitter crazy on January 11th, as in Brooklyn, it was found that the students who were part of a synagogue had created passageways underground. Workers were ordered to fill the holes with cement, leading to clashes between the students and the workers. A bizarre story to say the least. Governor Chris Christie dropped out of the presidential race, citing that Trump shouldn't win and leave room for former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, to fight Trump for the nomination. Privately, Christie stated that he didn't believe Haley would win. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, made a surprise visit to the Capitol Hill as Republicans took the first steps to hold him in contempt. Republicans were surprised that he would even show up, as they were close to recommending criminal charges against him over his illegal run-ins with the police over drugs and weapons. By mid-January, Josh 1 had taken the world by storm and became a meme. Actually tried it out. It isn't really bad wine for a bottle that's like $10. So yeah, I'd recommend. The final Republican debate took place, in which no one watched it because Trump didn't show up. Meanwhile, the streaming site Twitch was saying they weren't profitable despite having an average of 140 million visitors per month. So I don't know what the hell they need in order to be profitable. Following a series of Houthi attacks against American vessels, interrupting global trade, America struck against the Yemen Houthis in retaliation to try and get them to stop. Here's the thing, they stopped temporarily and then end up trying to mess with us a couple months later. It's like a repeating process that's tedious. In mid-January, it was announced that Linja Davis, better known as Cooking with Linja on TikTok and YouTube, passed away from throat cancer. A winner of various streaming awards, she will be missed for her positive optimism when it came to cooking. Famous streamer Kai Cenat began his year by calling out Lil Nas X, stating, quote, that God was going to handle him over Nas's use of religious themes in his music that have before depicted him grinding against the devil, and also over his recent single titled J Christ. Anthony Fantano tried to get into the controversy by calling Kai a loser, and this entire thing reeks of none of this really matters. What does matter, however, was that the YouTuber Verbalace was revealed to spend over $50,000 of his own money to create an animated softcore adult video of the main has-been hotel chick gooning after him, all the while singing about it. Holy shit. You gotta respect it somewhat. Man definitely has his priorities. But also, why in God's name would he spend so much money on this? Trump held 8 pizzas right before the Iowa Republican caucuses that were held on January 15th, in which he won easily, collecting 20 of its delegates. The duel for second place was between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, while Vivek Ramaswamy, who was in 4th, dropped out as soon as the results were made. Immediately after, he contacted Trump to try and help him in his campaign in any way. The Emmys were held, in which Better Call Saul won none, which was crazy as throughout Better Call Saul's lifetime, it received 53 Emmy nominations and did not end up winning a single one. Calling this insane would be an understatement. Billy Mitchell's Donkey Kong arcade records were reinstated after a multi-legal battle where the record keeper, Twin Galaxies, was forced to basically reinstate it. There's much debate about whether or not his records with Donkey Kong were faked or tinkered with. Personally, I have no idea, but I do like the regular show episode parody name, Sugar Conroy. Now, in 2024, many YouTubers found themselves in drama, and Sugar Conroy is one of the lucky few who has been able to somehow make a comeback both creatively and, of course, mental health-wise. Now, when I was a kid, I was a huge Sugar Conroy fan. I would watch his videos religiously throughout elementary school and middle school, and I can't tell you how many times I rewatched his Super Mario Sunshine Let's Play. So when it came to the accusations against him for being a creep, I was shocked. The accusations came from the user Lady Emily, who stated that Sugar Conroy made her feel uncomfortable over posts wishing to buy her shoes, which revealed that Sugar had a weird feet fetish of some sorts. This was exemplified even more when old messages from way back in 2010 were shown of him going on about this, including even weirder and very inappropriate messages, which I would understand if people thought were irredeemable. The Let's Player came out having deep regrets about his past, and also about what he sent to Lady Emily. But he also provided evidence suggesting that the foot stuff with Emily was all consensual. Nintendo Capri Sun, who was also someone I watched a bunch of as a kid, and is also one of Chugga Conroy's best friends, was there to take care of Chugga after all of this information came out. Apparently, Chugga is getting the help he needs. So much so that the crossover channel started over a decade ago between Capri Sun and Proton John, known as the Runaway Guys, is back on after months of not knowing whether or not it was going to continue. I believe self-improvement is real, and if Chugga is truly improving, then good for him. Okay, time for more YouTube drama. Mama Max vs. Mutahar. Mama is a YouTuber who hunts child predators and conducts investigations. Now, this one is bizarre to me, as I've actually met Mama Max a couple times during VidCons, as well as Mutahar, but the distinction is pretty clear here. Mama Max was definitely in the wrong for crafting fake investigations, and also crafting fake stories. Not everything he did is fake, but still, it's weird to make things up, especially when it comes to child predators. Mutahar ended up covering the Mama Max situation, which led to Max threatening to sue Mutahar. The entire thing is just dumb. In January, Alec Baldwin was formally indicted over an incident that occurred in 2021, in where he fired a weapon that accidentally killed someone on set. He wished to have the case dismissed, but failed to convince the judge. Somehow, in a ballsy way, SNL would later have Alec Baldwin come back onto the show to play a character. Why? Hazbin Hotel released on January 19th. Yeah, not for me. I can't get past everyone swearing every 2 seconds. It's kind of grating. I heard a song or two I have liked from the show, but goddamn man, I just can't get past the show's dialogue. It's so over the top. Trump mistook Nikki Haley for Nancy Pelosi right before the New Hampshire primary, while Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race and endorsed Donald Trump. Trump would end up winning the primary, with Nikki Haley still hanging on for dear life. Tim Scott, a senator from South Carolina, then proceeded to kiss up to him.
I just love you. No, that's why he's a great politician.
Palworld came out, which was basically Pokemon but with guns and blood, and it was widely successful for a couple weeks. I never got around to playing it, but it was essentially a survival adventure game. Streamers are all over it. Merch of the monster thing that looked like Pikachu was released. It's crazy how popular this was for a period, but then died. Hillary Clinton tried to make herself relevant again following Oscar nomination season, when it was found that Greta Gerwig wouldn't be nominated for the Best Directors, and when Margot Robbie wasn't nominated for Best Actress. With a tweet that said, "Greta and Margot, while it can sting to win the box office and not take home the gold, your millions of fans love you. You're both so much more than Knuff. Hashtag Hillary Barbie." Obviously trying to make a reference to her winning the popular vote in 2016, but losing the election. Hillary, sorry dog, but no one cares. The Doomsday Clock, which is a clock created by a couple of atomic scientists that has measured how close humanity is to doomsday, moved closer to midnight, which it has been for a while. Scientists said this was largely due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine amid talks of nuclear escalation, and also due to climate change. Now I know this may seem like bad news, but we did get giant chicken in Fortnite this same week, so not everything was so bad. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a statement on behalf of Texas, stating that the state had the right to self-defense against the border. I remember some people freaking out claiming this was going to lead to Texas to secede from the United States, but as we all know, nothing happens, and it was really just a statement against the Biden administration and immigration if anything. On January 25th, former WWE CEO Vince McMahon had a lawsuit filed against him, alleging that McMahon had assaulted and trafficked a woman, and sought a non-disclosure agreement to keep her quiet about the actions. There is a big investigation being conducted about it, so we may not know what the outcome will be for a while. At the same time, Donald Trump was ordered to pay millions of dollars to Jean Carroll, a woman who accused Donald Trump of assaulting her. A jury found Trump liable for defamation against Carroll over remarks he made throughout the years about her. Overall, however, I do not believe this affected Trump's campaign heading deeper into the primary season. Ben Shapiro rapped. Yeah.
Look at the stats, I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo, my pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic, don't be a wap. Dog, it's a yarmulke, homie, no cap.
On January 29th, Iran-backed militants killed 3 US troops, leading to more talk about war with Iran. However, America responded by conducting airstrikes against Iran-affiliated groups. In pop culture, Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion got into drama, and personally, I don't care to even go into it. Soup was thrown at the Mona Lisa, however, by food protesters. They were basically people who had qualms with European agriculture, and who believed the farmers were beginning to feel the losses at work. The Mona Lisa was behind protected glass, and the painting was fine. Sydney Sweeney took the world by storm with this image of her on Hot Ones, in which she seemed to be in complete glee. This feels like a lifetime ago. Finally, for our final story in January, Twitter CEO Elon Musk had his first major headline of 2024, when he announced that the first Neuralink implant was successfully added into a person. It was done to see if chips surgically placed in the part of the brain could fix impaired movements, with Musk stating to imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate faster than a speed typist or an auctioneer. That is the goal. We'll see what happens. January was busy for no real reason, and I don't know why. Seriously, it's one of the largest segments in this entire video, which usually isn't normal for the year in reviews, but I guess people were excited to get the year started. I myself was mixed about it, because I had to deal with some pretty not great stuff. Paloma! Paloma! If you're used to the series, you may know that I also use the year in reviews as also a journal piece. It is in this way where I believe I can also connect with my viewers a little more personally and show that I'm comfortable to be vulnerable with you all and to eternalize a memory forever, whether it be good or bad. On January 23rd, I lost my beautiful husky, Juguetona. Her name was Spanish for playful. She was always so kind and would always make me feel better when I was down. I take solace in knowing that she's with her brother now. I love you, Tona. Rest in peace, beautiful. At the beginning of February, Larry David found himself in some controversy. He attacked Elmo while Elmo's dad did nothing but look in horror. Truly one of the most terrifying things to happen on live TV.
Right, Larry, you've gone too far this time.
Yes, Larry. Somebody had to do it.
TikTok's music catalog was taken away for a decent chunk of the year after they failed to make an agreement with Universal Music Group. Eventually, things were sorted out, but this led to many TikToks being muted. On February 2nd, Carl Weathers, famous for appearing in many famous movie roles such as Predator and Rocky, passed away at the age of 76. He will be missed. One of the most craziest inventions came out this year. The Apple Vision Pro released, in where people tried their best to use the thing, only to find it kind of bulky and difficult to navigate. I'm sure this thing will get major upgrades in the future, but this thing came out and had some buzz only for people to stop talking about it not too long after it released. It's kind of cool, but the thing seems more like an inconvenience right now, if anything. Instead, people would just rather use their phones. Joe Biden faced one of his first primaries in South Carolina. Biden, who was met with challenges from progressives and other Democrats alike over his age and policies on Israel and Palestine, was trying to stack the deck against potential challengers. The Democratic Party had made sure that the South Carolina primary was one of the first states in the primary process, guaranteeing him a slew of delegates and winning headlines. The party was destined to make sure Biden became the nominee with no major hiccups. We'll see how that goes in a couple months. Rapper Killer Mike was arrested on February 5th, right after winning a Grammy. Following an altercation with the security guard, he was put in cuffs. I only mention this as he may be the only person to experience both a Grammy win and an arrest on the same night. He would end up not facing any charges for the arrest. In February, King Charles was diagnosed with cancer, which came as a major shock. The type of cancer has not been shared with the general public, and he has only been king for 2 years. He's still trying to fight it. Best of luck, King Charles. After a hard battle with stomach cancer, famed country music singer Toby Keith passed away on February 5th. Absolutely love his song Red, White, and Blue, and his other song Red Solo Cup was a staple to play at parties I would throw. A legend, he will be missed. The Republican Congress attempted to impeach the Department of Homeland Secretary over immigration. The vote failed, however. It displayed a major anger from Republicans against the Biden administration's border policies. A week later, the secretary was impeached by a narrow vote in the House, but was later dismissed from a full impeachment trial in the Senate. Drake's penis leaked. It was all over Twitter and you couldn't escape from it, so yeah, it was massive. To try and meet the growing demands over a solution over the border, Joe Biden tried to push Congress to pass a bipartisan border bill. However, the plan was met with rejection by Republicans, influenced by Trump's demands to stop it, to not give Biden a win. Biden continued to get pissed as his presidency was continuing to flail. Twitch streamer Miskiff got himself in drama yet again when it was filmed that he beat the crap out of his friend Mitch Jones. The two got into a heated argument beforehand, with Miskiff claiming Mitch was drunk and cracked out on cocaine. Streamers would then back up Miskiff, claiming that Mitch had grown to be living a chaotic lifestyle and that he seriously needed help. Something crazy happened during the Republican Nevada primary. Donald Trump, who wasn't on the ballot in Nevada, was forced to basically give the state to Nikki Haley. Funny thing is, Nikki Haley didn't end up winning the state. She ended up losing the state to the contestant, none of these candidates, basically meaning that nobody ended up winning the state. That's how bad people in Nevada hated Nikki Haley. Around the week of February 4th, California faced an atmospheric river, which drenched the state with a massive rainfall. I'm a resident of California, and we have to get out of the drought somehow, so this was a W. The flooding wasn't cool though. Moran Williamson, who was running against Biden as a Democrat, ended up dropping out of the race, saying that there was no way she could defeat Joe Biden, who was for sure going to be the nominee. Yep, he was going to be it for sure. Speaking of Biden, a special counsel investigating the case surrounding him holding on to various classified documents acquired while he was vice president was released, with the special counsel reporting that Biden, although meaning well, would not be able to face the scrutiny of a prosecution due to his poor and fading memory. The report went on to state that Biden forgot the years in which he was vice president, and also forgot when his son Beau Biden died. His memory was continuously becoming more fatigued. This carried over to February 8th, when an angry Biden yelled at reporters and tried to convince the American people that he was still there.
My memory, take a look at what I've done since I've become president. I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, and I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, wasn't any of their damn business.
Slamming the special counsel and stating he didn't need any of his recommendations. He continued to mistake the president of Mexico with the president of Egypt, and basically the entire event was a big public nightmare. Biden's approval only continued to tilt downwards. Kanye West. Okay, after years of his worst controversies ever, Kanye decided to collaborate with Ty Dolla $ign and drop Vultures 1 on February 10th. The cover features Kanye and his wife in the front, accompanied by what would eventually become my least favorite Kanye West project ever. There's a song on there called Carnival that I think is ass. It's never been good. It's always been ass. Sorry guys. Alongside other unfinished songs that is far from making it in any of my playlists. I was a big Kanye fan like a couple years back and still think his music's pretty good usually, but like this sucks, dude, this sucks. I wasn't alone on my take on this album being underwhelming. Even diehard Kanye fans were left unsatisfied. Someone who wasn't a diehard, however, was internet reviewer Anthony Fantano. Fantano made a video refusing to give Vultures a proper review due to Kanye's previous anti-Semitic statements, and also because of what seemed to be an album that just seemed like he didn't try at. The entire thing became an internet drama, with the most diehard of diehard Kanye fans coming at Fantano for not reviewing the album. It doesn't matter, guys. Overall, I get why he didn't review it, but I'll give my review on Vultures 1 here. It sucked. And for that matter, I'll give my review on Vultures 2 here as well. It also sucked. I'm kind of glad there isn't a Vultures 3. The two 16-year-olds convicted of murdering a girl via transgender hate crime in England were sentenced to a minimum of 22 years in prison. Good riddance to those two psychos. All the while on February 11th, The 58th Super Bowl was held in Las Vegas. The San Francisco 49ers played against the Kansas City Chiefs, with the 49ers leading at first until the Chiefs were able to bring the game into overtime. At the end of it all, the Chiefs became the victors, with the halftime show being performed by Usher and accompanied by a million other artists. This Super Bowl was paid extra attention to, as Taylor Swift, who was dating the Chiefs player, Travis Kelce, showed up to the game to support her boyfriend. People got mad about how much screen time she was getting. I didn't really care. I remember just watching the game and drinking wine, and that's it. Something that was bizarre was that I saw a political ad for Kennedy in the year 2024, except it was Robert Kennedy Jr., the son of Robert Kennedy, and nephew of John F. Kennedy. Jr. had made an independent bid for the White House, polling around 5-ish to 7% while in the race. His impact on the general election would be fully comprehended later in the year. Trump had a video go viral in which he stood still and watched a lot of cheerleaders dance to him. It was funny. The election to replace Congressman legend George Santos went back to the guy who was in his place before him. George Santos literally made New York's 3rd district go back to their ex. Okay, this was one of the craziest stories of the year. On February 13th, 2024, and famous streamer 2Mad passed away at his home following a drug overdose. In the immediate aftermath, much was analyzed surrounding his career. 2Mad had gotten famous via Overwatch and viral streaming moments, culminating in a meteoric rise. At the same time, this led to his gigantic downfall as well. 2Mad fed into alcohol and drugs, falling into a downward trend, succumbing to his death. In the middle of his spiral, he faced legal repercussions, including a case against him in which he assaulted a woman. Throughout it all, his reputation grew more repulsive. The 2Mad story is a terrible one that has many victims. And at the heart of it all, it has a terrible person known as 2Mad who fell from grace due to his addictions. On Valentine's Day, there was a mass shooting in Kansas City that took place during a parade. 1 person died, and 40 others were injured. 2 men and 2 juveniles were arrested in connection to the shooting. Once again, Congress was in debate over whether or not to do stricter gun control, but nothing happened. Russian national security threatened nuclear weapons in space. Will it happen? Maybe. It made me think of Ronald Reagan's Star Wars initiative, so that was funny. Madam Web was released in theaters and the crowd went mild, because that movie actually just sucked. It was flawed in every single way possible. Sydney Sweeney was the star here, even hosting SNL to promote the movie, in which weirdos on Twitter were like, "This is what saves America in the West and what will destroy leftists." How, you may ask? Well, let's just get to the next thing. On February 16th, Donald Trump was ordered from a civic trial to pay over $350 million for business fraud. At the same time, Trump was selling shoes at a sneaker convention in which he got booed. Tough crowd.
We're gonna remember SneakerCon, you know that.
Destiny versus Ben Shapiro. It happened, it was a debate, and once again, the crowd went mild. Alex Navalny, a Russian who exposed corruption in Putin's Russia, was found dead on February 16th. People guessed that his death was coordinated by the Russian government. Honestly, probably true. Streamer Vaush got into some trouble when in the middle of his live stream, he pulled up a lolly folder, which is basically some of the worst shit you could ever think about, and it was just like, why do you have this, dude? Sora AI released, and Jesus Christ, look how realistic this looks. It's completely horrifying. Biden talked about wanting to have sex. All the while, Trump won the South Carolina primary, defeating Nikki Haley in her home state. Meanwhile, Avatar: The Last Airbender got a live-action release and it kind of sucked, and no one really cared, cause it wasn't really funny enough to make fun of, and all this conversation surrounding it just died instantly. In darker news, on February 25th, a US Air Force airman set himself ablaze outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., while screaming "Free Palestine." His name was Aaron Bushnell, and the entire news surrounding it was just horrifying and very sad. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was kicked off the Illinois ballot for a brief period. The state did this in response to January 6th, which had happened 3 years prior, stating that the 14th Amendment disqualified him from being on the ballot. He ended up coming back to the ballot anyway, via decision by the Supreme Court of Illinois. There was a meme where a Taylor Swift fan cried out a song in front of a stadium where she was performing. It was awesome. This is me every time I'm at a Weezer show. In fact, I was at multiple Weezer shows this year, because this year was the 30th anniversary of Weezer's Blue album. It was awesome. At the end of February, Wilbur Soot, famous for his YouTube videos and band Lovejoy, was accused of abusing his ex-girlfriend by biting her. The allegations took the world by storm, with Wilbur admitting that the allegations of biting were true, but he also failed to deliver any other statement and disappeared from the internet for months. The allegations were shocking to see as well, as no one really expected this. Super Mega returned to YouTube following a long hiatus stemming from heavy drama last year. After their names were cleared from said drama, they felt comfortable again to upload, which I was very happy to see. I'm glad Matt and Ryan are doing way better. The Willy Wonka scam in Glasgow, Scotland was insane. Essentially, a Willy Wonka-inspired experience was created in which the creator made a cheap mock-up maze that had weird characters, mock-up AI posters, and this Oompa Loompa. Actually, this was goated. I wish I could have gone to this. To cap off February, Helldivers 2 came out. Guess who never played it? Me. So, let's get straight into March. Joe Biden began the month of March stating that he was going to start providing airlift support to Palestine. However, to many that was seen as doing too little, as the crisis in Gaza continued to get worse and worse. Dune 2 came out, and guess what? I didn't watch it, but heard it was pretty cool, so I guess it's kinda cool. I don't know, I'd have to take everyone's word for it. Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema bowed out of running for re-election in 2024, which is probably for the best, as she gave me some bad vibes. I mean, just look at her doing this thumbs down. Like, you suck, dude. On March 5th, the biggest delegate competition of the election thus far took place, otherwise known as Super Tuesday. Donald Trump nearly swept the competition, but Nikki Haley was actually able to win one primary. I guess Vermont Republicans thought she was awesome for whatever reason. The Democratic side got interested in American Samoa. This random guy named Jason Palmer won a primary against Joe Biden, being the first person to win a primary against an incumbent president since Ted Kennedy did it in 1980. It was super funny, but who the hell was this guy? Despite recently winning one primary, Nikki Haley dropped out of the presidential race, paving the way for Donald Trump to be assured the Republican nomination. Now Trump moved his focus on Joe Biden. Rooster Teeth, a company famous for making various video game skits and shows, officially ended in March. I have a lot of memories of Rooster Teeth, most specifically their show Red vs. Blue, which I loved. Thanks for the memories, guys. On March 7th, the pressure on Joe Biden was on, as he conducted his State of the Union address to Congress. People were expecting him to fumble his speech as well. Instead, he became enraged against Republicans and actually conducted a competent and decent speech. A moment that went viral was Marjorie Taylor Greene being dressed up in full MAGA gear and Biden appropriately reacting. Yeah, it was a decent speech, but the Republican rebuttals to it by Senator of Alabama, Katie Britt, was atrocious. Look how forced her dialogue is.
Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable.
George Not Found, friend of Dream, found himself in hot water after a woman by the name of Katie Bugs accused him of making inappropriate advances towards her at a VidCon party. In the aftermath, more to the story came out, showing that the entire situation was much more nuanced, leading to other people attempting to clear George's name. George issued an apology and tried to defend himself. The entire thing has a lot of details, and I can't be the one to say whether or not George is innocent, so if interested, do your own research. On March 9th, MatPat, also known as the Game Theorist, said goodbye to his series, announcing 2 months prior that he was retiring from YouTube. It was a heartfelt farewell to the show that made him. I actually got to meet MatPat in 2023, and he was super nice. We talked about Broadway musicals, and how he was the reason why I fell in love with theater. I've watched him since 2011, almost since the very beginning, and damn man, he really is one of a kind. An incredibly terrific guy. I know he will do nothing but great things in his future endeavors. On March 10th, the 96 Academy Awards took place. Just know Oppenheimer swept a ton of categories, and also for some reason John Cena was naked. Also Jimmy Kimmel hosted, but who really cares? Around the same time, a man by the legal name of These Nuts got arrested and charged with battery. This is a big deal, and I had to make sure to mention this. There was a meme having to do with this crypto guy on Twitter who kept making the same faces that were weird looking. He looked hella creepy. However, in funny news, remember when Andrew Tate got arrested? Yeah, that was because Aiden Ross had mentioned on stream that Andrew Tate was leaving Romania, which was something he legally couldn't do as he was being investigated, tipping off police that Tate was going to flee the country. Life is so funny. By mid-March, Trump and Biden secured enough delegates to officially become the nominees of their respective parties. All that was needed next was that the both of them had to just simply make it to their conventions in July. That wouldn't be too hard, right? The House and Senate juggled a bill that would ban TikTok. with Biden eventually signing it. In order for TikTok to stay in America, the Chinese company would have to sell itself to an American company, which at the time of writing this hasn't happened yet. TikTok will be banned on January 19th. The Supreme Court has recently decided to hear the case to try and see if TikTok can have more time to sell, but I'm not sure if TikTok will ever really get that. My buddy Ultrav and I had an adventure in the middle of March. We went to LA and saw Tommy and its awesome show, How to Be a Billionaire, and hung out with him backstage, alongside a couple other YouTube buddies. Thank you, Tommy, for the awesome show. It truly changed my life. Also, you were super nice. Vladimir Putin got reelected as president of Russia. What a surprise. I'm sure that election was for sure not rigged. A new documentary titled All Quiet on Set, undisclosed creeps that worked at Nickelodeon who abused children. All the while, Dan Schneider was accused of also being very weird, leading to an interview of him saying that he didn't do all that stuff. Yeah, it didn't go well, as no one on Earth believed he wasn't a creep. Dude, we've all seen iCarly, and we all remember the weird foot stuff you would put in there. Kate Middleton, Prince William's wife, was diagnosed with cancer earlier in the year. The news was terrible, however, as of now she's considered cancer-free. Glad she's alright. On March 22nd, a terrorist attack shook Moscow, leading to the deaths of over 145 people. Multiple perpetrators, a part of ISIS, took responsibility for the attack. The venue was set on fire, alongside multiple murders with weapons, with the entire scene being a complete nightmare. My heart goes out to the victims of the attack. On March 26th, a bridge in Baltimore collapsed, leading to the deaths of 6 people. A major bridge, the economic impact of the bridge collapsing has been estimated to be $15 million per day, with plans to fully reopen the bridge not being until fall of 2028. Once again, another tragedy. Robert Kennedy Jr. announced his VP choice, Nicole Shanahan, a Silicon Valley attorney and an entrepreneur. She wouldn't really make any huge waves or cause any more buzz when it came to Kennedy's campaign, and was never really thought of ever again. To continue, Donald Trump started selling a $60 Bible with the US Constitution inscribed on it to help pay legal bills. Honestly, I respect the grind. With the spring now in full swing, a duck smoking a cigarette went viral. It was awesome. Meanwhile, this Chick-fil-A girl went viral for whatever the hell this was.
And then, can I also have barbecue sauce, or do you have like a buffalo sauce?
It wasn't as awesome. Beyonce released a new album titled Cowboy Carter, which embraced country. I've listened to some of it, and it's actually pretty good. A trend that you would see this year would be artists branching into country. Honest to God, I have no idea why it's happening now. It's like this big trend. The 2000 vice presidential nominee for Al Gore, and also the former US Senator, known as Joe Lieberman, passed away on March 27th. A bizarre Democrat who ended up endorsing John McCain in the year 2008, it is no surprise that he was kind of all over the place when it came to his ideology. His legacy is mixed, with legislative achievements, but also as a killer to Obama's original healthcare bill, being the 60th crucial vote needed in order to pass the massive bill, in which he refused to do so, eventually shaping a neutered version of Obamacare. Godzilla vs. King Kong 2 came out. It was alright. Pretty forgettable. I watched it because I'm like a big Godzilla guy, but even as a Godzilla fan myself, I was left pretty unimpressed. P. Diddy, famed music artist, was being hunted down by the feds after it was revealed that he would have underage girls at his parties. For months, P. Diddy was trying to evade arrest. There's a lot of key details here, but the hunt for Diddy was on.
You're gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time.
Akira Toriyama. At the beginning of March, creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, tragically died all of a sudden. When I was a kid, I loved Dragon Ball Z. It was my favorite show. I remember going to Mexico as a kid and gathering around the TVs, watching Gohan defeat Cell. It's always been one of my favorite moments on TV. I remember watching Goku say goodbye in Dragon Ball GT in one of the greatest endings ever.
And now we end the story of the Dragon Balls.
I am just one person, one fan of Akira, and all of his work. Keep in mind he made memories for millions of fans. An incredible creator, he will be missed for all of time.
Till we meet again, guys!
At the beginning of April, Dijo's End of the Beginning was trending on TikTok. I actually really like this song, it has a sweet message, and actually got me into Dijo. Mad respect. Discord accidentally beat the record of becoming the most viewed YouTube video in 24 hours. What happened was Discord embedded a YouTube video to their application that would play automatically via a glitch. and would instantly give the video a view. Combine this with millions upon millions of people logging on, then yeah, one would be able to tell why they would beat the world record. In April, the bird flu became more rampant this year, killing many animals. It's rare for it to affect humans, but it can happen. In fact, recently in Seattle, 20 big cats died from the bird flu. Be cautious, everyone. The song Too Sweet but Hosier made it to the charts. It was a fine song, definitely one of my favorites to listen to while intoxicated. It definitely made it a better experience, which I could imagine is the only true way you could enjoy that song, as that whiskey line hits even harder. New York and New Jersey had earthquakes, nothing major to Californians, but crazy for it to happen over there. A guy sung the national anthem by Lana Del Rey to Joe Biden, leading to one of the most bizarre moments of the year.
Okay, sing for you. Please tell me I'm your national anthem. Red, white, blue is in the sky, summer's in the air, baby, heaven's in your eyes.
Morgan Wallen threw a chair off a Nashville rooftop, eventually pleading guilty in court for said incident. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and apparently, he's getting the help he needs now after doing that while drunk. The total solar eclipse overtook the United States. Me and my buddies gathered around a coffee shop to see the eclipse partially, and it was sick. Can't wait to see it again on August 23rd, 2044. Hey, I'll be a day shy from turning 45. The TikTok Grizz party took place this year. Essentially, a bunch of kids at a dance gathered together to sing Carnival by Kanye West from his infamous album Vultures. Multiple memes were made about the cast of kids who were in the video, discussing who was the group leader and who was the side character. It may have been the most legendary thing to happen all year. On April 8th, all 3DS and Wii U servers shut down, so long to the glory days of playing Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, and playing his Game & Watch late into the night. Trump walked into Chick-fil-A and ordered fast food. This would foreshadow a pending event that would go viral as well. On April 10th, the most infamous never-convicted murderer of the 1990s passed away, O.J. Simpson. The former football player and actor said goodbye to all of us, dying via cancer. Famous for being the luckiest person on planet Earth by avoiding prison time for killing Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend, he somehow was able to get the greatest lawyer ever, who made the famous quote, "If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit," alluding to a glove that was found at the murder scene. Later, OJ would have a famous drive across Los Angeles in his Ford Bronco, become one of the most iconic scenes of the 1990s. In the years later, Bro wrote a book saying that he didn't do the murder, but if he did do it, this is how he would have done it, titling it as If I Did It. O.J. Simpson, you lucky son of a bitch. Bye. The Fallout TV show came out. It was awesome, is what I would say if I found the time to watch it. Heard it was really good. Maybe I'll see it one day. On April 15th, the Golden Gate Bridge was blocked by pro-Palestine protesters, with protesters parking in the middle of the bridge and chaining themselves to their vehicles. The bridge was shut down for 5 hours. Damon Albarn, famous for Gorillaz and Blur, grew upset with the crowd at Coachella, who weren't singing along to his songs. To be fair, I love me some Blur, but Coachella is a huge-ass festival, so it makes sense if not everyone there is familiar with Blur, and especially if they're not singing along. Lana Del Rey was there, but as was a new and up-and-coming star who took the world by storm in 2024. Enter Sabrina Carpenter, who had just released her hit single, Espresso, becoming one of the top songs of the entire year. Her rise would be monumental, with cheeky humor plastered all throughout her songs and live performances. An elephant escaped a circus in Montana. No one was harmed, but these awesome videos of the elephant were filmed. Donald Trump's hush money trial and court sketch was posted, showing Trump having a smug face. Of course, the moment went viral. The A24 film Civil War came out. I ended up watching it on a plane and wound up really enjoying it. The film was a little unbelievable, but it does a great job at being pretty disturbing, and I really think it's a great thrill of a film that follows the story of 4 core characters who are fairly likable. Also, Jesse Plemons knows how to play a maniac really well. Joe Biden, for no real reason, lied about his uncle dying at war, or maybe he was just having a bad memory moment because of his old age. Uh-oh. Taylor Swift released her new album, The Tortured Poets Department, and it was really whatever. Besides the song Fortnite with Post Malone, other songs in there didn't really feel like anything to me. There was a lyric that went viral in which the lyric states, "You wouldn't last under the asylum I was born into," which ended up becoming a meme, like a "I'm 14 and this is pretty deep to me" kind of thing. On April 19th, a man went to the courthouse where Trump was on trial and set himself on fire right outside of it. It was very unsettling. In other news, Harvey Weinstein was hospitalized, eventually being found to have leukemia. Dude is terrible, he sucks. The hosts of BuzzFeed Unsolved redefined their legacy when they made a separate channel and asked viewers to now watch their show behind a $6 paywall. A show which used to be free on YouTube and which would be supported via AdSense, sponsors, and Patreon donors. They weren't really struggling, to say the least. So yes, it seemed awfully greedy of them to ask for even more money for content. Biden read the teleprompter out loud, which told him to pause in the middle of his speech.
Pause. 4 more years! 4 more years!
That's awesome. Andrew Tate came out and said having sex with women is gay. I don't even know what to say to that.
Oh yeah, you can have gay sex with women. All the time! All the time. In fact, most gay sex that happens is between men and women.
Kanye West continued to make headlines when he said that he was going to make a thing called Yeezy Adult Videos. It never happened, and thank God it didn't. Kristi Noem, who was in the running to be Trump's vice presidential pick, screwed that all up when she admitted in her tell-it-all book that she just randomly killed a puppy, like for no reason. Never admit to killing a dog, especially if you're in politics, you might not become vice president. Joe Biden held his White House Correspondents' Dinner, and it actually seemed like the guy was happy to be up there.
Sleepy Don. I kind of like that. I may use that again.
The Knuckles TV show was released. I watched a bit of it, it seemed fine. Wade Whipple was in it, and we all love Wade, as he is the greatest man to ever exist. Challenge was released, a movie that probably shook Tom Holland to his core, as in the movie, Zendaya is eyeing 2 different tennis players, whom will both iron her up as well. The movie was fine, but the soundtrack to it was actually really good. I'd highly recommend listening to it on Spotify. This meme came out in which it read like this. So I was hanging out with my friend, bro was hanging out with his friend. Yeah. To end April of 2024, many anniversaries were marked, especially when it came to stuff that was released in 2004. I mean, it was the 20th anniversary of Spider-Man 2, the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time, the anniversary of Shrek 2, the greatest Shrek movie of all time, alongside a re-release of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie for its 20th anniversary, which is one of the greatest films ever made. Man, I love nostalgia. April was a fine month for me personally as well. I traveled to hang out with 2 friends who lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and also went to Columbus as well, which is actually a pretty cool city. Shout out to Slay and Caroline for dealing with my ass for the weekend. On May 1st, Joe Biden was met with more trouble as his re-election bid continued to fumble. Already deeply unpopular, a university in Alabama just made it worse when both Trump supporters and pro-Palestinian protesters joined in unison to say F Joe Biden. At least Mark Hamill was on his side when he traveled to the White House on May 3rd to call Joe Biden Joe by One Kenobi. Okay. All the while, Donald Trump was on a side quest delivering pizzas. At UCLA, a pro-Palestinian encampment became viral as it swarmed the USLA campus. The protesters would not move, but eventually cops had to swarm in to take apart the encampment. On May 4th, the world was taken by storm via the drama that was known as Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. In the beginning, Drake and Lamar were alright with each other, collaborating on music. However, in 2013, a song came out in which Lamar dissed Drake, with Lamar stating it was friendly competition. This enraged Drake. Years later, the song First Person Shooter came out, in which J. Cole described him, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar as part of this Big Three, to which Lamar scoffed at later, saying, "The Big Three? It's just the Big Me." Drake would try and respond back in multiple songs, attempting to destroy Lamar, but it was too late. Kendrick was winning the battle. Lamar made multiple songs accusing Drake of being a sexual predator, a sex trafficker, and also just really being a huge loser. The highlighted song for me, during this era and for everyone else, was Not Like Us, one of the most major songs of the summer. Months later, Drake would claim the meteoric rise of Not Like Us as manufactured. But in reality, dude, it was over, Drake. You just lost. Digital Circus, now picked up by Netflix, released its 2nd episode to much praise and fanfare. Thank God. Macklemore came back after years of no album release. Thank God. This one is more local to me. On May 10th, Sam Rubin, a news broadcaster for Southern California, passed away. One of the best reporters of KTLE5, he will be missed for his charm and masterful reporting. In the middle of May, I found myself venturing yet again. I flew out to the East Coast to attend my first wedding ever. Multiple YouTubers were there. I went to New York City again and explored the area, which is always a fun time to do. I traversed through the wild land known as New Jersey, and also arrived in Pennsylvania, to arrive at the childhood home of Joe Biden. This just happened to be in the area, but I thought that was funny, especially because there was a Joe Biden highway. What made it even funnier was that it was an election year, so to think I was at Biden's childhood home, in what I would argue would eventually be his most pivotal year, was funny. Also, Turkey Tom and I went wild when it came to the songs being played at the wedding. Life was good.
around and another round. And sugar, we're going down swinging. I'll be another gun with a bullet.
Across the upper region of the United States, the northern lights could be visibly seen, providing this beautiful and pinkish view to millions of Americans. Seriously pretty cool stuff. For some reason, 2024 was the year Donald Trump got super into Silence of the Lambs, most notably the character Hannibal Lecter, who he would reference over and over again throughout the campaign.
Silence of the Lamb. Has anyone ever seen the Silence of the Lamb? The late great Hannibal Lecter.
A New York City portal looking into Scotland went viral. Essentially, a giant live stream was set up to peek into another live stream across the globe, hoping to connect two different sets of people, but instead those in Scotland would show images of 9/11 to the New Yorkers via their phone, while on the New York side, a chick flashed the camera, which eventually led to the portal being removed. A portrait of King Charles went viral. It looked weird. In fact, if you look up the portrait on Google, one of the first questions you get is, why does King Charles' portrait look like that? He's like emerging from like a pool of redness. Young Sheldon came to an end in May, in which I found out that Sheldon's dad dies, making Sheldon become the bazinga mastermind that he is in Big Bang Theory. Rest in peace, Sheldon's dad. During the hunt for Diddy, a video came out showing that in the past, he would kick his girlfriend. He was just even worse than we thought he was. On May 16th, actor Dabney Coleman passed away. Famous for being in over 175 movies, he was an absolute talent. On May 17th, Billie Eilish released her new record, Hit Me Hard and Soft. I was at the Kia Forum to attend her listening party for this record, and oh my god, it was fantastic. The instrumentals are next level. Lyrically, I don't think Billie has ever sounded this good before, and in terms of vibes, they were off the charts. Birds of a Feather became a top hit for the rest of the year, which was well deserved. Also, Lunch, fantastic song, lyric-wise, very scandalous. CNN contributor Alice Stewart died suddenly after having a medical emergency, being found dead outdoors. She will be missed. On May 19th, the president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, was involved in a helicopter crash, killing all 8 people on board. Raisi became the second president of Iran to die in office, with Mohammed Makbar then becoming president. There was this meme that came out that had this AI-pictured story of Dr. Mario trying to heal his brother. It was funny, but people hated it because it was AI-generated. Guys, it's a story about Luigi in the hospital. It isn't that serious. Stephen Colbert gave us the worst thing of all time after trying to criticize Biden's outreach to younger voters. He presented us to Skibbity Biden.
Skibbity Biden.
Skibbity Biden. Skibbity, skibbity Biden. Skibbity Biden. Skibbity Biden. Hitler's language. Trump is using Hitler's language.
The Doge dog, Kabusu, unfortunately passed away in 2014. Rest in peace, old friend. Thank you for making me smile while I was in middle school. On May 23rd, Morgan Spurlock, famous for his documentary Super Size Me, a movie everyone had to watch in health class, passed away at the age of 53. Spurlock ended up becoming a controversial figure after he messed with the results of his documentary by drinking copious amounts of alcohol behind the scenes and blaming all his weight gain to McDonald's. Spurlock had admitted to sexual misconduct as well, and would succumb to his cancer. On May 24th, 21 Pilots released their new record, Clancy, and it was fantastic. I really feel as if 21 Pilots offered a record that was full of heart compared to their previous outing, with an album that I would say has no real skips. Overcompensate is incredible. I love Snap Back. Midwest Indigo is amazing. I even got to see the band in concert later for free out of the kindness of someone's heart. The boys always know how to do a really beautiful show. It may be that Clancy may end up being my new favorite album from them, just because of how deep and personal it resonated with me this year. Seriously, the song Backslide, it really hit me hard, especially in May. Donald Trump went to the Libertarian Convention to try and convince Libertarians to vote for him, in which he got booed. Libertarians ended up nominating a guy they also hated by the name of Chase Oliver, who used to be a big Obama-era liberal for years. This one is just really funny to me. So there was this guy named In Praise of Shadows who made the crazy accusation that the YouTuber Windigoon was a racist because he was friends with Turkey Tom, Brandon Buckingham, Nick Crowley, and a couple others. And he also went as far to suggest that if you were followed by these guys on Twitter, that you were basically evil. I have bad news, guys. I'm followed by all these people on Twitter and have met all of them. He also suggested that wearing a Hawaiian shirt was racist because of some random group that would wear them who sucked. I have bad news. Not everyone who wears a Hawaiian shirt is racist, but here's the thing, I wear one every day. Uh-oh, that's not good. Next you're going to tell me something like a Bass Pro Shop hat is racist because, well, sometimes racist people wear that hat as well. This guy's insane. Take a good hard look at yourself, man. What are you talking about? Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door got remade and put on the Switch. I didn't buy it, but I did play the original as a kid, and it was pretty sick. The Garfield movie came out, it was kind of okay, kind of boring. Garfield was cute though, so it wasn't like all bad. Trump made a funny comment when it came to his legal woes, stating that not even Mother Teresa would be able to get rid of all these charges, which got crazier as on May 31st, Trump was indicted on 34 felonies, all over his New York hush money trial, with his sentencing being delayed over and over again. Trump would later go to a UFC fight on the same day. That's hilarious. To cap off May, The Fall Guy released, which I thought was a pretty solid movie, but unfortunately ended up bombing in the box office. The summer season was about to get started, but before we get into June though, I think I should talk to you guys. I have to be real with you guys. I've been feeling pretty behind this year. I felt a struggle on my YouTube channel and also in my personal life. I feel like I was slipping in various aspects. In May, something happened that shook me to my core and made me wonder how I would even get past this. I felt afraid. Thankfully, almost immediately after it happened, I had a trip booked to Ohio. During this period, I had multiple friends help me get through it to feel better despite all the troubles. In a mess of a lot of terrible things, I had friends to be there for me. Despite that, I still felt at odds with myself, and I just didn't know if I could do any of this anymore. I just felt like I kept losing. In June, Mexico elected their first woman president, Claudia Sheinbaum, winning in a complete landslide. Smiling Friends Season 2 came out, and it was goated. Once again, there were a lot of great moments from it, so much so, I made 3 YouTube videos about it. In fact, because of the show, I made it on trending on YouTube for the very first time, which was a very surreal experience. There was a stupid TikTok Chipotle trend in where people would show up with their cameras out, film the portion sizes to try and pressure the workers to add more food into the plates, or on the burritos, as it was on video, which, would anger the workers or make them feel awkward and obligated to give a bigger portion size, because they're kind of being an asshole here filming them. In June, I noticed a lot more Cybertrucks on the road. In Southern California, they are everywhere, and it was really funny just seeing these giant, weird-looking trucks sticking out like sore thumbs everywhere. There was a Generation Alpha ironic trend where there was this meme right here.
We can go gut for gut. Fuck that, we can go wrist for wrist.
We can go gut for gut. Fuck that, we can go wrist for wrist.
We can go gut for gut.
Fuck that, we can go wrist for wrist.
A father embarrassed her daughter by stepping in to try and stop her from shaking the hand of a black superintendent during a graduation ceremony. Jesus Christ. Trump went to California for 3 days to raise money. In fact, I went to get lunch one random day in the area and kept seeing Trump flags everywhere, and I wondered to myself, what the hell was happening? And sure enough, Trump was in town. On June 7th, the pop culture of the world was uprooted when Charli XCX released her new album, Brat. An electric pop album, Charli redefined the entire summer of 2024 by making it the summer of Brat. I think the song 360 is really good, alongside most of the record if I'm being real. When this would play at the bar, the crowd would go wild. Memes were made to celebrate this album, with Charli experiencing the greatest success in her entire career. It really set the entire vibe. Joe Biden celebrated Juneteenth by standing completely still at this event that took place at the White House. Meanwhile, his son, Hunter Biden, pled guilty on all counts of having illegal firearms and illegal substances. Basketball player Jerry West, who was the inspiration of the NBA logo, passed away on June 12th. His legacy will be permanently defined by the NBA logo. Likes became private on Twitter this year, and in response, a short meme involving the yeah sign from Miiverse era Nintendo became viral to show that someone liked the post. In a bizarre meetup, Logan Paul met with Donald Trump to interview Donald Trump. What the hell was this even? Joe Biden had to be pulled back by a G7 prime minister during one of his trips abroad. Even the prime ministers knew the dude needed help getting around. The Supreme Court lifted a bump stock ban. More gun issue arguments proceeded, and guess what? Nothing else happened because Congress can't agree for shit. But hey, on June 14th, Inside Out 2 released, becoming the top grossing movie of the year, and also becoming the 8th highest grossing film of all time. The movie was gigantic, putting Pixar back on the map after years of misses. I thoroughly enjoyed the film, and I really liked the plot, the pacing, music, and even the character Anxiety was a welcome addition as an antagonist. Seriously, I was pleasantly surprised. This movie was a cultural mammoth that was released just in time for the summer. Taylor Swift kept releasing new versions of her record, The Tortured Poet Society, in order to try and make sure Charli XCX didn't take away her status as the top performing female artist for the most weeks in a row. Everyone saw through the plan, dropping her popularity. Timothée Chalamet shaved his head, but I really just remember this photo because of the edit of making Chalamet look like characters from Smiling Friends. Sneeko got punched in the mouth after taking a security guard's head off. I'm glad. I'm Alex got into hot water after it was revealed during leaked audio messages that he abused his ex-girlfriend. What a psycho. Gordon Ramsay almost died. Shaken up about the experience, he told his story detailing how a bike accident almost took his life. I'm really glad he's okay. Morgan Wallen and Post Malone teamed up to release Utter Kino, known as the song I Had Some Help. I'm not a country guy, but somehow this song became a song I kept repeating over and over again this year, because the vibes it gave were just too good. Why, you may ask? I don't know, I'm not a country guy once again, so I don't know what drew me to this. More so than any other country song of all time, I just couldn't stop playing it. As the summer began to heat up, other radio hits began to dominate, including the song Tipsy as well. As with a multitude of songs by a special artist, who we'll get to in a moment. Justin Timberlake got a DUI. That part itself isn't funny, but what he said to the cop before he got arrested was stating that this was going to ruin his world tour. The cop didn't even have any idea he was arresting Justin Timberlake. An AI trend that took the world by storm was the idea of AI time travelers, in which AI-generated time travelers stopped key moments from old viral Vine videos. For example, the 9+10 kid clip.
You stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
Putin and Kim Jong-un took a drive together. It was hilarious. The truth surrounding the Dr. Disrespect ban on Twitch from a couple years ago was finally revealed. Basically, he messaged a minor and intended to meet up with them at TwitchCon. We never got to see the messages, but Dr. Disrespect ended up admitting that the messages were real. In the aftermath, Disrespect ended up coming back and pivoted to just embrace the entire thing, becoming evil for whatever reason. Honest to God, what the hell? Two of the worst people on planet Earth got into a fight with each other. Neon and Jack Doherty were arguing over some stupid shit and fought each other. Every person here just sucks. On June 25th, Julian Assange was freed from prison in the UK. Famous for undisclosing classified US secrets, people see him as a hero for holding the powerful accountable.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
On June 27th, history changed. The presidential race was flipped on its head, which opened one of the craziest 30-day periods in American history. A lot was building up between Trump and Joe Biden before they debated on CNN. Biden had to prove he was mentally cognitive enough to convince the American public that he should be rewarded with 4 more years. Trump had to dispel any potential attacks from Joe surrounding all his legal and personal baggage. Something of note is that usually the presidential debates didn't happen this early. They would mainly take place all in September and October, but Trump was demanding debates against Joe earlier, claiming that the American people needed to hear from them as soon as possible. Biden agreed to take Trump's challenge, marking the greatest mistake of his political career. What followed next was a 90-minute disaster of Joe Biden fumbling around, while Trump just sat there and watched.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
It was honestly pretty sad. It was as if you were watching your grandpa with dementia try and make the case that he can still do this, when honestly he couldn't. As soon as the debate ended, many Democrats went into panic mode, and crazy enough, many were also saying that Joe Biden had to be replaced at the top of the ticket by someone else. To end June, I participated in another VidCon, and I hung out with a bunch of great friends. I met JonTron, that was kind of crazy. I helped craft a big lunch with a bunch of creators, hung out with Brooklyn, Fox Akimbo in San Diego. Jay Aubrey and I got into escapades as well. I was also in a crazy Anthpo video, in which they brought in a monk to a party who lectured us to live a non-party lifestyle. I responded with this.
After a full hour, Bonte left, and I think everybody got something out of it.
Fun times, and I can't wait for the next year. It made me realize, hey, maybe I'm not too bad at this YouTube thing. If I'm able to network so well, maybe I can get through whatever trouble with enough friends and ambition. At the beginning of July, a star was born. Going by the name Chappell Roan, the artist dominated the second half of 2024, with a variety of pop-centric singles that were incredibly fun to listen to. How to Go is awesome, as well as Good Luck Babe, which is super catchy, and her entire record, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, is stellar. Like, it's seriously a no-skip album. And I remember that 4th of July, my buddies and I were just sitting by the pool, listening to her. It was epic. The Supreme Court made the decision to grant the president presidential immunity. Essentially, the court said that the president has both civil and criminal immunity for their official acts as president. Does this mean that the president can do whatever he wants now? I don't think so, but I don't know, man. We're kind of in uncharted territory here. Richard Nixon would have been pissed if he knew what modern presidents could get away with now, without any repercussions. But hey, Despicable Me 4 came out. Yep. On July 4th, the Democrats had begun to take out the daggers in an attempt to get Biden out of the way prior to the Democratic convention in August, before they would be forced to nominate Biden. A small wizard walked around a mall. This is one of my favorite videos of the year. Go, small wizard, go! RFK Jr. had a weird summer, admitting that he killed a bear once and left it in Central Park, but also essentially admitting to sexual assault allegations as well. What the hell? On the 4th of July, the United Kingdom faced a major election, with the Conservative Party being completely slaughtered by the Labour Party, losing 251 seats. In the end, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak resigned knowing he could not lead this new government. Dude, I feel like it's almost every other year that a Prime Minister resigns from the UK in these year in reviews. Keir Starmer became the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. You may be wondering, why was there such a slaughter in this election? Well, many priorities had to do with the fumbling of the economy, generally just terrible Conservative Party leadership, the mess that was Brexit, among bad policies. How is it possible that since 2016, every Conservative Prime Minister has eventually resigned? Well, the party can't lead. George Stephanopoulos interviewed Biden, in which Biden had to prove that his brain wasn't melting. Meanwhile, France faced a huge election, which was taken as a rejection to the right, with Macron defeating the challenger, Le Pen. In July, Tana Mogo revealed that Cody Ko had relations with her before she was of a legal age, while Cody Ko was 8 years older. What the hell? Justifiably, Cody Ko was eaten alive by the internet. I went to Anime Expo this year for free. It was okay. I thought the parties outside of it were pretty cool though. The convention though, not for me. I don't like anime. Finally, we have gotten to the most important event of the year. I feel like I've said that a lot this video. The Hawk Tuomi.
One move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time.
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk to and spit on that thing. You get me?
Did you guys catch the joke she made? This girl's name is Haley Welsh, and let's just say she would redefine the rest of 2024. In July, it was revealed that streamer Sketch had made adult videos prior to becoming a streamer. He got into controversy for it, and would later admit he regretted making it, with the internet taken aside. Honestly, as long as he didn't hurt anyone, who cares? It was from his past. Joe Biden hosted a NATO summit to try and prove that he wasn't senile. It didn't do much to help his case. Another press conference had Biden calling Zelensky, Vladimir Putin, and also calling Kamala Harris, his very own VP, Vice President Donald Trump. Jesus.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be Vice President, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Trump challenged Biden on the golf course to try and show that not only would he be the better president, but that he was also the better golfer. Boogie2988 was revealed to have faked his cancer diagnosis on livestream in front of thousands of viewers. This guy sucks. On July 11th, Shelley Duvall, famous for her role in The Shining, passed away. She was incredible, and she will be missed. On July 12th, Eminem released The Death of Slim Shady, headlined by its single, Houdini, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed. As for the record itself, however, well, I guess it's better than the previous crap he's released, but it's not really a remarkable album for me, at all. There's a song on there that sounds like it was from Encore, which was funny and kinda catchy, but other than that, the entire record is dealing with getting old and also if Eminem could survive in the modern day, hence the return of the Slim Shady character. Spoiler alert, Slim Shady is the villain and dies, but only after some of the worst verses you've ever heard in your entire life. On the same day, Clairo dropped a new album which was pretty goated. In fact, this year was pretty goated for music. Porter Robinson also dropped a new record as well, named Smile, which was also fucking awesome. I'm a big fan of the song Knock Yourself Out and the record's bombastic attitude. I definitely recommend giving this one a listen. It's a great feel-good album. Also in the same month, a fantastic new Childish Gambino album came out. Well, what's with all the good albums all of a sudden? I really like the song Lithuania. It was like therapy to my ears. Also in July, Glass Animals dropped a new record as well. That was okay. I saw them twice this year, however, and they really put on amazing shows. I like the song Pony Boy and Creatures in Heaven though. At this point, the Costco guys had taken the world by storm. They brought the boom. What else did you need? These guys ended up making a song, and in the process, introduced a character by the name of the Rizzler, who redefined an entire generation. Complete and utter heroes in this household, I have to tell you.
You know me as the Rizzler, I'm the Panther dressed in black. Once I give your girl the wrist face, there's no chance she's coming back. I hang with AJ and Big Justin, bring the boom, you know it's on. We're like the 3 evolutions of Pokemon.
The horror movie Longlegs came out. I didn't watch it, but well, this next thing happened.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my... Wait.
On July 13th, Donald Trump was given a speech in Butler, Pennsylvania. While presenting an immigration slide on the screen, Trump was fired upon, wounding his upper right ear, barely missing his head. The suspect, Thomas Matthew Crooks, was immediately neutralized by Secret Service. Trump was then covered by the Secret Service, only to get back up and then fist bump into the air, chanting, "Fight, fight, fight." America was very close to changing that day. Had Donald Trump died, who knows what would have happened the day after? How would have his most hardcore supporters reacted? What would the Republican Party have done, since the Republican convention was only a couple days later? It was a complete security failure by the Secret Service, with Secret Service failing to properly secure the area, even despite all the warnings by many rallygoers about a gunman being nearby on a building's rooftop. One person in the audience, by the name of Corey, tragically died attempting to shield his family from bullets. The election had reached a point of crisis, a boiling point. How could this happen? How could it get this bad? We were so close to breaking. This was the zenith of the election, what we had come to. As the United States tried to comprehend what happened, other news stories slipped. Kyle Carrozza, a former Cartoon Network creator, was found to be a complete creep, with a possession on 2 counts of CP. On July 13th, Richard Simmons, famous for his workout videos in the 1980s, passed away. On July 14th, the Copa America finale was held, with Argentina defeating Colombia of a score of 1-0. The entire thing was a madhouse of people, all packed in Miami in the middle of July. Brutal. Back in the realm of politics, the Republican convention was in full swing in Milwaukee. Following a big Veep stakes, Donald Trump ended up choosing Senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, to run with him on the ticket. Immediately, memes were made about Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, with a false joke being made that J.D. Vance loved having sex with couches. It wasn't true, but to many they thought it was funny, because of how bizarre it was. But also during this week, RFK Jr. called Trump to wish him well after the attempt on his life, to which Trump suggested figuring something out if RFK ended up dropping from the race. As the Republican Party formally nominated Donald Trump as their nominee, Trump would show up to the convention wearing an ear bandage. On the last day of the convention, Hulk Hogan walked out to endorse Donald Trump and then ripped off his shirt. Trump gave his convention acceptance speech. As Trump's numbers in polls went up, the Biden administration was still experiencing a Democratic civil war. Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama were calling on Joe Biden to step down as a potential nominee, with Biden stating that the only way he would drop out would be if he had a medical emergency. And right after saying that, he was announced to have COVID. These were probably some of the worst days in Joe Biden's life. He went missing for a couple days. Meanwhile, Jack Black canceled his tour with his best buddy for his band Tenacious D after his friend made a joke about the attempt on Trump's life and the bullet missing. Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey was indicted on corruption charges, providing sensitive information to the government of Egypt, acting as a foreign agent, later resigning from the Senate in August. The movie Twisters came out, serving as a sequel to the original, who cares?
President Joe Biden has just announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race.
Joe Biden officially announced he was dropping out of the presidential race on July 21st, all while under the sickness of COVID. You can tell he didn't want to do this at all. But after being pushed by many Democratic leaders, he was met with no other choice, before things got even worse. He announced it via tweet, and in the almost immediate aftermath, Biden went out to endorse his Vice President Kamala Harris, also in a tweet, surprising Nancy Pelosi, who was hoping to have an open convention in a couple weeks to try and find a new candidate.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Enter Kamala Harris, a candidate who immediately squashed donation records and was embraced by many in Generation Z for her weird coconut line. She was also endorsed by Charli XCX, with Charli stating that Kamala was Brat. Many fan cams were made of her as she reached the height of her popularity. The entire election was completely flipped on its head once again. What an insane 30-day period. You go from the presidential debate to an assassination attempt to the incumbent president being replaced with someone else at the top of the ticket. By late July, the ghost of the controversial artist Shadman had come to haunt Mr. Beast and Chris Tyson. Shadman was a lewd artist who drew many underage girls in terrible artwork, including Keemstar's daughter back in the day. He was a sick guy. It was revealed that back in the day that Chris Tyson was a major fan of him. After Chris Tyson was exposed to be a creep in Discord groups, and via old tweets as well, Mr. Beast went out with a statement stating that they would separate ties with Chris. This would be the first major horn in Mr. Beast's back this year. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the United States to ask for more money. Anti-Israel protesters then unleashed maggots at his hotel and also set off alarms to disturb his sleep. Biden formally addressed the nation on why he dropped out. He did it in a competent enough speech. Charli XCX trended again when the Apple dance became a hit on TikTok. Yeah, there's a reason why they call it Brat Summer. There's a meme going on with a guy in multiple videos on airplanes wearing Trump gear trying to see if he can get a rise out of anyone on the plane, but no one really seemed to care. Deadpool and Wolverine came out, which actually ended up becoming my favorite Deadpool movie. I don't really like the character, but while watching this movie, I was definitely pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed the chemistry between Deadpool and Wolverine. Also, the end sequence was pretty fun, with the hide in the chorus and Like a Prayer by Madonna. That also became a trend on TikTok. The 2024 Summer Olympics took place. With America being awesome again and winning the most medals as per usual because we're awesome, there was a meme that came out of the Olympics this year of the shooters shooting guns. It looked pretty badass. A governor by the name of Tim Walz was making headlines trying to lampoon Republicans by calling J.D. Vance and Donald Trump weird for their policies. I wonder if this guy will go anywhere anytime soon. In July, President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela stole an election because, well, dude is a dictator. Kamala Harris had Megan Thee Stallion at a rally trying to target voters in Generation Z. I wasn't really sure how this was going to win older voters who vote way more, but sure, Kamala. At least they started playing out like us at the rally, which was pretty sweet. Moist Critical and Sneeko debated on stream. People thought Charli lost the debate, but to be fair, Sneeko just sucks anyways, so who cares? At the end of a very turbulent month, Donald Trump was met with his first big interview since Kamala was chosen as Biden's replacement. What happened was Trump questioning Kamala's race.
Promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
July was hectic, but personally, I was starting to feel like things could be okay again in my life. I just had to make sure I enjoyed my final month of being 24. Into August I went.
Hey Billy, you there?
To continue Brat Summer, Billie Eilish and Charli XCX collaborated on a remix of a previously released Charli song. The song Guess was a major hit, playing at clubs everywhere and embroiling Generation Z with even more pop hits. Joe Biden finally got a victory. On August 2nd, he was able to get a prisoner exchange through Russia, retrieving a Wall Street journalist and a US Marine in return. Actual Biden W despite him dropping out of the race. In August, the magazine Game Informer announced it was coming to an end. I only remember it for being a part of a package when signing up to the GameStop Power Up Rewards program. The magazine was neat to go through, and I do have memories of it, but I understand why it is ending, since who really reads magazines anymore? Kyle Rittenhouse, notorious for a big court case in previous years that I'm too lazy to redefine yet again, I don't know, just watch my past year in review videos, was met with criticism when he announced to everyone that he would be writing in Ron Paul instead of Donald Trump in the upcoming election. After being met with rejection, he then U-turned his opinion and said he was voting for Trump. On August 5th, Donald Trump met with kick streamer Aiden Ross. In another bizarre interaction, these meetings were at the head of Trump's youngest son, Barron Trump, probably one of Trump's biggest assets during the election, who urged Trump to go on all these streamer shows and podcasts as he thought it would do great in bringing out the youth vote. Aiden Ross gifted Trump a Cybertruck with the iconic Trump photo of him fist bumping on the vehicle, which apparently broke campaign finance laws. Then they danced. Kamala Harris had a fast Veep stakes, eventually deciding on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her VP pick. Tim Walz was popular, presenting himself as a family Midwestern man who loved his kids and his dog, becoming the most popular polled person in the entire race. There was a joke he made about Vance and a couch, and Republicans tried getting at Walz by making up that he liked horse semen. It didn't go as viral. Meanwhile, Vance followed Kamala's plane around in his own plane to try and troll her. The Borderlands movie came out. It was ass. Vultures 2 came out. It was also ass. Also, Milo Yiannopoulos, a conservative commentator, came out to say that Kanye West had become addicted to nitrous, leading to this hilarious interaction. Kanye, who's photographed here with his contact photo being Golden Freddy, asked if he could have some nitrous today, after Milo had just talked about all the negative effects that went along with nitrous. It sucks he's addicted, but somehow everyone was still trying to make it a joke, which I understand because this interaction is so bizarre. After being reinstated for around 2 years, Trump officially came back to Twitter. Meanwhile, Joe Biden went to the beach. Maybe things will be alright for this guy. On August 10th, Rachel Lillis, the voice actress for Misty and Jessie in the original Pokemon, passed away from breast cancer. A creator of childhoods, she will be missed. In election news, Donald Trump posted AI-generated images of a Kamala Harris rally with the Communist Russia logo on it, alongside AI-generated Taylor Swift images of her wearing Trump gear. Swift fans got very pissed. The meme, very mindful and very demure, went viral. I didn't really care for the sound on this one. Which brings us to the Democratic National Convention, which took place between August 19th to August 22nd. Throughout the convention, there was a slew of Palestinian protesters right outside of the venue. The DNC nominated Kamala Harris. The roll call vote was actually pretty cool, with each state getting a different song and former announcement announcing who they'd give their delegates to, which, it ended up being Harris. Turn it down for what was played.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president. Bob, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what?
And at the end of it all, Kamala Harris accepted her nomination. In a speech, I don't really remember, it wasn't really notable to me. Almost right after the event, RFK Jr. did something big and dropped out of the presidential race, endorsing Donald Trump and publicly shaking his hand. He had made a deal with Trump to be offered a position in the Trump cabinet if Trump ended up to win the general election. To continue, Tulsi Gabbard switched her party affiliation to Republican and also endorsed Donald Trump. On August 23rd, Sabrina Carpenter dropped her long-awaited album, Short and Sweet, to a lot of fanfare. A competent enough record, it provided some great tunes, but overall I was left a little underwhelmed by the entire thing. I mean, I really like Please Please Please, I think that song's great, and Slim Pickens is pretty cool as well. The Reagan movie came out, it sucked. To cap off August, Kamala Harris finally held an interview with CNN after avoiding interviews for a month. The CNN interview came out to be 15 minutes, and also a decent chunk of the interview was removed. People were starting to think, is she as good as a candidate as people thought she was going to be? There were warning signs. August was cool. I turned 25 on August 24th, throwing a big Bass Pro Shop themed party where all of us loved all things Bass Pro, because Bass Pro Shop is awesome. I can't even comprehend anyone hating it. Anyways, on to September. Dolphins. This song. This was a major TikTok trend, and one of the funniest ones in recent memory, because each post would usually be saying something wild. The 30-minute TikTok sound. The one that said, you only have 30 minutes? It kinda sucked, I didn't really like it. On September 3rd, the YouTuber Paul Harrell released a video in which he announced he was dead. He had pre-recorded this as he knew his time was coming to a close due to his pancreatic cancer. A gun rights activist and kind of man, he will be missed. An ex-top aide to the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, was revealed to be a double agent spy for the Chinese. How does this happen? Honestly, no idea. To continue with the double agent stuff, Tim Pool, right-wing media superstar, was apparently paid $100,000 per episode by a covert propaganda campaign funded by Russia. How does this keep happening? Talk 2 released To the Glory of Millions, becoming one of the greatest things to ever happen in everyone's life. Still can't believe the Hawk Tuah chick created the greatest thing ever. Actually, I can believe it. An image of Joker wilding out in a crazy photo went viral. It was awesome. Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris, calling Trump a threat to democracy, in which the crowd went mild. Dick Cheney is one of the worst vice presidents of all time, so Cheney endorsing Kamala wasn't really anything to write home about. Nico Avocado surprised everyone when he uploaded a video saying he was always steps ahead of everyone, showing he lost a lot of weight. He continued to say that this was all a part of a great, elaborate plan. But then I remember a couple years ago he released a video where he just showed off his private parts and did disgusting things, so was that part of the entire plan as well? The Minecraft movie trailer came out and oh my god, it was such ass. It follows classic movie tropes, not even Jack Black could save it. We'll see how this one turns out next year. The second Beetlejuice came out, which I heard was surprisingly pretty good. I gotta be real though, I've only seen the musical to Beetlejuice and have never actually seen the actual movie, so I have to do that first. A video released by Nick Crowley covering a creepy Instagram user by the name of Schoolboy9 took the internet by storm as it exposed this weird multi-Instagram account world all created by the same person, who pretended to be little boys and little girls, and who also dressed up as a little boy as well. Alongside just being a general creep, the entire thing was disturbing, and looking at his face doesn't make it any better. On September 9th, the voice actor for Mufasa in Lion King and the voice actor for Darth Vader in Star Wars passed away at the age of 93. A legendary talent, known as James Earl Jones, he will forever be eternalized in all the roles he played. On September 10th, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris faced off in the first and only presidential debate between the both of them. Trump argued frequently with the moderators. Trump then said that in Ohio, well, you know the line.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Almost right out of the gate, I didn't think the debate really moved the needle, as I thought Kamala didn't do a great job of suggesting what she believed in. Meanwhile, Trump's performance was also really sloppy. However, the next day, the two saw each other and shook hands, and also on that day, to show solidarity, as it also so happened to be 9/11, Joe Biden wore a Trump hat. That was pretty funny. To officially close out the summer, the 2024 MTV VMAs took place, in which both Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter had fantastic performances. Trump randomly truthed out that he hated Taylor Swift, only for Taylor Swift to endorse Kamala Harris as the campaign grew closer. However, once again, this didn't really move the needle. On September 15th, Donald Trump was golfing at his international golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida, when a Secret Service agent noticed somebody hiding nearby in a bush with a weapon. The Secret Service agent fired at the man, who fled but was later captured. No one was hurt, but the fact that Trump got close again to being shot was enough for even more alarms to go off all across the Secret Service. I mean, the golf course's perimeter wasn't fully secured. Dude, what is happening? The man who tried to shoot him was known as Ryan Wesley Ruth, a 50-year-old man who had random shifts in political views. He was a really strange character. In Lebanon, a random series of pagers owned by Hezbollah members exploded all at once, injuring and killing many. The fact that this could even happen was terrifying. Mr. Beast was facing a headache. Not only had an ex-employee gone viral attempting to expose Mr. Beast and getting millions of views for it, but also his similar-looking Lunchables product, known as Lunchly, was receiving hate after he had collaborated with Logan Paul and KSI to have Prime included with the food. Logan Paul became a meme for saying that Lunchables had drippy cheese.
Come in close and look at the queso cheese in Lunchly versus whatever that is. Drip versus stick. I like my cheese drippy, bruh.
And also the crew got into hate when it was displayed that a decent amount of these products would be released with moldy cheese. Not only that, but a person who was part of Mr. Beast's games had filed a lawsuit against Amazon and Mr. Beast, stating that conditions for the show were not safe. Once again, the lawsuit is pending, so I'd be careful before jumping to any conclusions. As for the situation with the ex-Mr. Beast employee known as Dogpack, that would be played out later. Mark Robinson, who was running for Republican governor of North Carolina, was exposed for being a weird sexual freak from years ago, and also for being a black neo-Nazi who had bizarre fan fantasies. As crazy as this was, I did wonder, how did this guy get this far without any of this dirt being digged up earlier? By September, P. Diddy was finally in custody, and the true scope and depth of the Diddy parties was finally being understood. Bad stuff would go down. That's the least I can say. This baby hippo went viral. Also known as Mu Deng, the hippo belonged to a Chinese zoo and was reposted over and over again because he looked so funny looking. What an absolute legend. In trying to play easy good politics, Trump handed a random woman at the grocery store $100. Of course, people went out to state that this was illegal, but for most people they didn't care, and Trump didn't get in trouble for it. I think we all know that he's faced worse legal issues. TwitchCon 2024 was insane. It was in San Diego, and I roomed with 2 really good friends, alongside going to many parties. Some on rooftops overlooking a baseball game, and another at a museum that was conducted by Cold Ones. Yep, I met Max, Mofo, and Chad, and the both of them were really swell guys. The convention itself was fine, but once again, I don't go to these things for the actual conventions, I really only do it to hang out with everyone. Transformers came out, which had every Transformers fan crying tears of joy because it was actually good. Hurricane Helene was a dangerous hurricane that brought devastation in late September, especially in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, destroying homes, buildings, and displacing hundreds. My heart goes out to the victims of this tragedy, and I hope Appalachia is able to rebuild. Chappell Roan got into controversy when she came out to criticize Kamala Harris and the entire Biden administration over the conflict in Gaza and the deaths of many Palestinians. It was ironic, as fans of both Kamala and Chappell Roan used Chappell's song Femininominum as a key song when it came to Harris's campaign. Eventually, Roan said she would be voting for Harris, but that the vote would not be a full endorsement of the Harris campaign. The New York mayor, Eric Adams, was exposed for corruption on federal charges of bribery, fraud, and soliciting illegal foreign campaign donations. He's still currently the mayor of New York City, by the way. I'm pretty sure he's biding his time to see if he could get out of these charges by getting a pardon. Dame Smith, famous for her role as Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter series, passed away on September 27th at the age of 89. One of the most significant actors on British screens, she will be missed. For a brief period, Earth had a mini-moon. It was a small asteroid, really, that hung out with us for a couple months until it finally said goodbye on November 25th. I don't know how I got to the age of 25 without even knowing that Earth could have mini-moons. So that was September, a month that I definitely enjoyed with friends who came to San Diego to visit. It made me feel appreciative that I had pals to get me out of that negative headspace that I had been in for a couple months. Maybe as I entered the final quarter of 2024 and into the fall, things would definitely rebound. At the beginning of October, the vice presidential debate took place between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. It was actually a pretty tame debate compared to the others we've gotten in recent memory. It even made some Americans wish that these were the guys at the top of the ticket instead of the other two. J.D. Vance was seen as the winner of the debate, at least by an edge, as he was able to impress via his speaking style. But Walz didn't do too bad either. Funny part is that this is a VP debate, so none of this even mattered at all, or moved the needle at all, in an election that was already really close polling-wise. For some reason, a Minecraft series about a Minecraft parkour civilization went viral in the beginning of October, causing many memes. Say the line, Larry. I never watched it. Gravity Falls was trending again after the release of the Book of Bill, which came out a couple months prior, but also because of a meme of Grunkle Stan winning the big football game.
It's called Grunkle Stan Wins the Football Bowl.
On October 4th, Joker 2 came out to very negative reviews, and I'm talking about very negative. It was a musical featuring Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and it ended up bombing at the box office due to its bad reviews, and also because of its terrible storyline that was all over the place. It almost comes across as trying to be an apology for the first movie, but also as like an FU for even enjoying the first movie in the first place. It was weird to say the least. What was even weirder was Elon Musk coming out to fully endorse Trump, and even jumping around, leading to this iconic photo of Elon jumping. Wow. Elon had gotten aboard Trump's campaign months ago, but in the final month of the election, he had chosen to become more public about his support, wearing black MAGA hats, and saying things like how he's like dark MAGA or whatever.
I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark, gothic MAGA.
Local dumbass, Jack Doherty, was texting while driving in the middle of the rain when he lost control of his car and crashed into a barrier. He was okay, but his cameraman wasn't, as he got cut up pretty bad, in which Jack continued to urge his cameraman to keep vlogging like the unsympathetic asshole that he was. KSI released a song titled Into the Thick of It, which was dog shit. so of course it became the song of the fall, with everyone making fun of it. He really was in the thick of it because he started arguing with a Minecraft YouTuber by the name of DanTDM. In October, Anthpo conducted a Timothée Chalamet competition in which the real Timothy actually pulled up, in one of the most iconic cultural moments of the year. Meanwhile, Logan Paul and Tommy Innit got into drama as well, when Logan Paul posted a video discussing the Gaza conflict with a Prime ad in the middle of it. Tommy Innit posted an image of the bizarreness of it, which had Logan getting upset and replying, saying that Tommy was a former Glazer around a year ago, to which Tommy called Logan out again, calling him a dumbass because the pictures Logan provided just showed Tommy was being a genuine and kind person to Logan and just wanted to hang out. Hurricane Milton swamped Florida, leading to intense devastation. However, Florida was able to get through it, with the story of the guy named Lieutenant Dan and his boat going viral, as the dude averted all evacuation signs and merely just stayed on his boat, as he had done for decades each time before. On October 10th, Ethel Kennedy, the wife of the late Robert Kennedy Sr., passed away at the age of 96. She is now reunited with her amazing husband after all these years. Also in October, Elon Musk revealed Optimist, a robot designed to basically be your butler. It reminded me of the movie I, Robot just a little bit, because the robots would talk to the people at the party, but apparently that part was controlled by other people who were playing the robots from somewhere else. A massive Pokemon leak exposed some of Game Freak's darkest secrets, including a story in where Typhlosion assaulted and became a manipulator against this woman, which some are saying is now canon as the story was from an official Game Freak employee. Asmongold went out on stream, talked about how he didn't care about Palestine, and got in trouble for it, eventually being banned off Twitch for a moment after stating some pretty crazy stuff. Mario Party Jamboree came out, which is one of the best Mario Parties in years. Finally, they made Mario Party great again. Trump got bored at a rally and started to dance for a full 39 minutes straight, instead of talking, and everybody watched. All the while, Kamala Harris started to fall in the polls. It had seemed that the momentum was going back to Donald Trump. On October 16th, former One Direction star Liam Payne died at the age of 31 after falling down from a third-floor balcony in Argentina. Payne had struggled with alcoholism. However, according to an Argentine journalist, Payne's death was an accident after fainting on the balcony. The leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, died following an attack from Israel. As well as the next leader who succeeded him, he also died via Israel months later. Kamala Harris had an interview with Brat on Fox News, and it went as well as you could possibly hoped. They argued.
May I please finish?
Yes,
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish.
A TikTok sound went viral where it talked about how in the club we're all fam. Still not a fan of this sound as well.
We all fam. In the club, we are all family. Are you racist?
On October 17th, Mr. Beast acquired lawyers to try and help him take down a billboard that said F Israel on it that had his face smothered over it. Seriously, why was Mr. Beast's face on this? I went to New York City in the middle of October with two of my buddies. I stayed in New Jersey, and the entire experience was super fun. I even got picked up by a buddy in Brooklyn and drove all around the city, providing for an amazing view that I couldn't capture on my phone because it died before I could film it. While there, my buddies and I needed to use their bathroom and entered the back door of a building. And oh my god, we just found ourselves in Trump Tower. Secret Service was all around as Trump himself was only a couple minutes away doing his Al Smith dinner, in which Kamala Harris had a video made for that had the most millennial-centric humor you have ever seen.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I stick my fingers under my arms and I simmer them like that. But that's gross.
Trump also told a bunch of jokes at the expense of Harris and a couple of the people around his team. On October 20th, Donald Trump reached the zenith of his campaign by working the fries and drive-thru at McDonald's. For some reason, Trump got pretty hyper-focused on Kamala's statement that her first job was at McDonald's, to which there was no records of, so Trump, to try and get her back, took the shift. This moment was probably the funniest one in the entire campaign. A bunch of Twitch streamers live streamed with Bernie Sanders, including a VTuber who was there as well, which I could only imagine confused Bernie Sanders immensely. Trump invited the Nelk Boys on Trump's plane, while Kamala Harris, sensing a loss in the polls, started to claim that Trump was similar to that of Hitler. McDonald's had an E. coli breakout, in which contributed to their bad sales. Seriously, a meal at McDonald's has gotten very expensive, which translated into the political world, as the Biden administration had continued to be unable to convince the public that the economy was growing again and that inflation was going down. On October 26, Joe Biden apologized to Native Americans for the government's role in running Native American boarding schools in the past, calling it a blot in American history. Trump went on Joe Rogan as one of the final campaign moments, leading to a very viral interview. All the while, the latest epic rap battles, Donald Trump vs. Kamala Harris, came out, which I would say was pretty underwhelming. yeah, the beat sucked, and the lyrics weren't really that great. Venom 3 dropped. I have a guilty pleasure for these movies, as this movie capped off a fantastic trilogy that had the greatest characters of all time. In Houston, a woman yelled at a toddler at a Kamala rally. In what case would you have to be yelling at a toddler at a campaign rally? Donald Trump held a massive rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City. To many, people were confused why Trump would campaign in New York when he wasn't going to be able to win the state. But Trump thought that there was a chance of flipping it, and also helping House of Representatives seats in the general election. The rally kind of backfired though, as a comedian went up there and made jokes about Puerto Ricans in one of the most Puerto Rican dense states. What a dumbass. Kamala Harris went to get a beer to look relatable to the average voter, while Tim Walz played Crazy Taxi with AOC, and lore dropped about the game. Who knew Walz was a huge gamer? Tyler the Creator dropped his new record, Chromacopia, an incredible record and possibly my favorite of the year. I'm amazed by how many stellar tracks there are, from Like Him to Judge Judy to even Balloon. Tyler really wowed the public with a record that felt familiar to his style, but also so fresh. I even went to the listening party and premiere of the record in LA, which was a breathtaking experience. To continue, Biden made a comment on Trump supporters, calling them garbage, which had Trump respond the next day by becoming a garbage guy. There's so many iconic moments from this election. How will we be able to top this in the future? In the baseball realm, my home team of the Dodgers won the World Series against the New York Mets in a West Coast versus East Coast battle. Some would say my team is actually the Angels due to proximity, but no man, the Angels suck ass. They have a cool stadium though. To cap off October and celebrate Halloween, Joe Biden went on to bite a baby. I gotta be real, I'm getting a little tired. We have the finale of the election next. So, can we just get to November? Okay, cool. At the beginning of November, Trump capped off his long campaign by making jerking and sucking off motions to a microphone. It was iconic. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris went on SNL to try and convince younger voters that she was once again relatable, while MAGA obsessed over the story of some squirrel being shot by the federal government, in which they made AI images in tribute of, with the squirrel being awesome or some shit. I don't even know what's happening anymore, dude. This was all on the eve of the election as well. What are we doing here? On November 5th, also known as Election Day, America was holding its breath after a long and tiring election season that had brought so many twists and turns finally came to an end. As the results came in, many wondered if we would have our first woman president. We did it.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
By the end of the evening, it was looking like Donald Trump was going to win. He was able to sweep all 7 out of the 7 swing states that were up for grabs, and also flipped 6 states that voted against him in the previous election. Harris had failed to convince the general public that maintaining the status quo of the Biden administration was what America needed for the next 4 years, while Trump was able to convince the public that the inflation of the past few years, as well as immigration, was an issue needing a big change. In fact, minorities shifted to Trump, changing the Republican coalition, especially with Latino men who had a major shift to the Donald. The once reliable Rust Belt had flipped as well, believing that the MAGA agenda was what was going to be the one to meet the needs of the blue-collar worker. Not only did Trump win the presidency and the popular vote this time, but he's also headed into January with a Republican Senate and House. However, the margin in the House is fairly tight. The next day, Kamala Harris conceded. However, rumors are suggesting that she's not done yet, and may be running for the governor of California in 2 years. Meanwhile, Trump went straight to assembling his cabinet, with some normal picks like Marco Rubio of Florida as Secretary of State, to more bizarre ones like Matt Gaetz, who is being investigated over a relationship he had with a 17-year-old, which is kind of ironic because Trump nominated him as Attorney General of the United States. Gaetz, realizing he didn't have the possible votes to pass, had his name pulled out. A Fox News host was picked to be Secretary of Defense, while Robert Kennedy Jr. was awarded Secretary of Health and Human Services. Part of Kennedy's campaign was critiquing the food and health industry, so we'll see what happens now with some of our most unhealthy ingredients. To cut it with the election talk, the PS5 Pro came out. Finally, PS5 players had one game to brag about, Astrobot, which I heard was actually pretty good. Looks really fun. Too bad I don't want to buy a $500 console to play it. Senate Republicans had a race to replace Mitch McConnell, who was stepping down as Senate Majority Leader. Thank God. In the end, the senator from South Dakota, John Thune, became the next Senate Majority Leader. On November 11th, Joe Biden struggled to get up a bunch of sand, and to be fair, I probably would have as well. Biden then met with President-elect Donald Trump. It's still crazy to me that not only was Trump the 45th president, but he will also be the 47th president, becoming the first president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland in the 1880s and 1890s. Biden looked fairly happy to see Trump, with rumors circulating this was all a part of Joe Biden's big revenge plan against the Democratic establishment, which had ousted him. I just think the dude was being kind. Biden holds the only title as the only person to ever defeat Donald Trump, and in that way, is able to leave the presidency with a smile knowing that. The satirical magazine known as The Onion wanted to buy InfoWars. Didn't happen due to legal issues, but god, that would have been so funny. A New York City skyscraper was set ablaze, which alarmed many older New Yorkers, as it reminded them of a very terrible memory. On November 15th, Jake Paul faced off against legendary heavyweight Mike Tyson in a fight that, let's be honest, sucked. A 58-year-old Mike Tyson versus a cocky Jake Paul? I feel like everyone was rooting for Mike, but unfortunately he wasn't able to win. Something funny that did happen was that Mike Tyson, pre-fight, walked away from an interview with his ass hanging out, while Jake was just Jake. Enough with the Pauls, I've had enough of them this year, I don't want to talk about them anymore. Speaking of fights, Trump went to one with his new friends, Elon Musk, Robert Kennedy, the Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, and he also went in to hug Joe Rogan, one of the key people to help him in his re-election effort. Biden went to the Amazon forest. He ended his speech, and then just walked off into the forest. Okay, Twitch began to crack down on discussing Palestine, as advertisers for the company began to pull out after people like Hassan continued to say controversial statements, leading to the Twitch-pocalypse. Meanwhile, the chill guy meme came and went, as it was funny for a couple hours and then almost immediately died after a couple hours. I just thought it was funny because why the hell does this guy look like Brian Griffin? Alan Lichtman, a historian who became famous for his 13 keys that had predicted presidential elections for 40 years, had his model completely shattered when it failed to predict a Kamala Harris win. He went on Piers Morgan for a discussion in which the Young Turks host, Cenk Uygur, debated him and they both got heated.
You live in a total world of denial. I read your own followers.
Kendrick Lamar dropped a surprise new album which was actually really good. I love the instrumentals to this entire thing, and TV off his utter keynote. Mr. Beast. In the months prior, the YouTuber Dogpack made big claims stating that Mr. Beast faked his videos, that he hired predators as employees, among other bad practices. This was all disproven by yet another YouTuber named Soggy Cereal, who showed how Dogpack twisted the truth, and was also revealed to be a massive Mr. Beast fan turned employee turned sour. A disgruntled ex-employee, Dogpack has yet to make any other statements following this exposure. There were a slew of movies that came out in the month of November: Gladiator 2, Wicked, and Moana 2. Wicked was met with great reviews, and had an uptick in streams to the musical, while Moana 2 was just bad, and had a bad soundtrack. So I guess Wicked won. Never fear though, as in later November I traveled to North Carolina with my buddy Josh, and we road trip all the way back home to California. Nashville was pretty cool, all the lights were awesome, as well as the environments of Upper Colorado and into New Mexico, into Arizona, and we also went to the Grand Canyon, and well, we got there on a bad day because clouds completely shielded our view from it, and it sucked. But we ate some pretty good barbecue, so that's all that really matters, huh? Shout out Kansas City. Brad Pitt was met with allegations of physical abuse by his ex, Angelina Jolie. The case is still unfolding, but Brad Pitt has detailed that he has his own side of the story, which is not like hers. At the end of November, the Notre Dame Cathedral was finally restored after being closed for 5 years following a fire. There was a big celebration for its reopening. Trump was there was a choir, the entire thing was a big spectacle. Almost like Destiny sucking penis, which was leaked around this time as well. Alright. The ex-My Chemical Romance drummer, Bob Dwyer, was found dead in his home after no one had checked up on him for 2 weeks. His cause of death is unknown. Well guys, November was fine, a lot of political news, but goddamn man, am I exhausted, so let's just bring this home, on to the last month.
A dim cafe.
On December 1st, Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter Biden of any wrongdoings. This was fairly obvious that this was going to happen. I mean, it's his son. However, for months on end, the Biden administration said they weren't going to do it, but of course, they did. The president of South Korea tried to hold a coup against his own government once he realized he was probably going to be removed from office. The coup failed. And now, he's been voted, as of December 27th, to be impeached as well. Nice going, man. On December 4th, Brian Thompson, the CEO of the American healthcare company, United Healthcare, was shot and killed outside a hotel in Manhattan, with the event being recorded on video. It went viral, with people seeing the act was despicable, while others found it justifiable due to insurance companies declining insurance to those who are suffering or dying from various health problems. Many claimants simply are just trying to get healthcare. In the days following, a giant manhunt of the perpetrator took place. On December 9th, a 26-year-old who fit the description of the killer, was found at a McDonald's. He was arrested and identified as Luigi Mangione. His case has gone viral, with multiple mugshots being released of him and multiple people becoming fans. They see him as a hero, while others view him as a villain. He has declared himself not guilty, and we'll see how his trial shakes up in 2025, as there is no other suspect in recent history who has gotten this much attention. Dude even has a Twitter with a picture of a Pokemon on it, so that's kind of funny. Daniel Penny was found acquitted after having been charged of killing a homeless man by the name of Jordan Neely, who was threatening and agitating many on a New York train. Penny had put the homeless man in a chokehold, killing him, causing a debate whether or not Penny's actions were justified against Neely. On December 4th, the French government collapsed. Yeah, it happened after a vote of no confidence in leadership. Is this just a normal thing in France? Alt-right streamer Nick Fuentes was arrested after pepper spraying a woman who came to his front door, acquiring a mugshot. This woman did this after Nick Fuentes tweeted out a controversial statement following Trump's win, stating, "Your body, my choice," which of course is going to piss a lot of people off. I mean, how couldn't it? In fact, weeks later, a disturbed man who had just come from slaughtering 3 people came to Nick Fuentes' house with a weapon to assassinate Nick Fuentes. The man was later killed by police, and Nick Fuentes ended up okay. After more than a decade plunged into a civil war, Syrian rebels took to the capital of Syria and ended the presidency of Bashar al-Assad on December 8th. Forcing him to flee to Russia. Assad had been president for nearly 25 years. A major development in the East. We'll see how this shapes global politics in the future. The era of Haley Welsh came to an end when she promoted a crypto scam titled Hawk2a coin that was uncovered by YouTuber CoffeeZilla. People are saying she's going to jail. I really don't think so, but unfortunately, my goat Haley Welsh, she's washed. A guy ran his car into a dealership to return it. What the hell? Mitch McConnell fell down and had to go to the hospital. Dude was like on his way out. I have no idea why he's still in Congress in his 80s. In the month of December, mysterious drones were spotted all across New Jersey, with many suggesting that these were UFOs. The governor of New Jersey had to step in and demand the federal government to do something about it. While the federal government hasn't been providing straight answers. These mystery drones are bizarre, and according to the AP, the FBI, the Homeland Security Department, and state agencies have been investigating. But officials say there have been nothing so far to suggest any drones have posed a national security or public safety threat, and authorities say many of the drone sightings have actually been legal drones, manned aircraft, helicopters, or even stars. I don't know. What do you guys think? On December 16th, a Wisconsin school shooting occurred, with the shooter being a girl who hated men and held racist beliefs expressed in her manifesto. 2 people were killed, with the entire thing just being utterly terrible. A government shutdown was narrowly averted mere hours before, as Democrats and Republicans were unable to make a deal. Some wanted the shutdown to happen to cause chaos in the Biden administration during the last month in office. Donald Trump concluded his eventful 2024 by being named as Times Person of the Year for a second time. This is something I'm sure many wouldn't argue with. He has been the main force of the entire year, whether it be negative or positive. To celebrate, he rang in Wall Street and posted an AI image of Chris Christie eating hamburgers, followed by a meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. And for extra news, Trudeau is deeply unpopular right now and is probably going to resign from the Prime Ministry fairly soon. Trump then teased Justin as being the governor of the soon-to-be 51st state of Canada, which I don't think Trump is too serious about, but he did post this AI image of him overlooking Canada. Trump for sure, however, wants Greenland and wants to buy it from Denmark, with the Prime Minister of Denmark saying it's not for sale, with Trump replying with, "We'll see about that." Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came out, and Nosferatu as well. 2 movies that were met with way positive reviews. Sonic 3 was awesome. A second season of Squid Games was released, which I still haven't watched yet. Elon Musk and Laura Loomer got in a spat on Twitter, with Musk describing a somewhat pro-immigration stance, with people saying he was fake MAGA. He's currently embroiled in controversy. Trump has been saying that he's not going to get these other people on Twitter to get in the way of his friendship with Musk. On Christmas Day, tragedy just continued. A plane crash over Kazakhstan killed 38 people and left 29 survivors injured. There was speculation that Russia's military was involved, and President Jimmy Carter. After reaching the age of 100 years old, a feat no president has ever done before, Jimmy Carter passed away on December 29th. Originally serving as the 39th president from the years of 1977 to 1981, he proved to be an excellent humanitarian who saw the decency in people because he himself was a decent man. It is that shred of decency that many people really wish would return in the modern day. And I don't know. That's it. I went through an entire year. Probably, if not the most eventful year I've ever had to cover on this channel. And I feel kind of empty after it's all said and done. I've been writing and editing and voicing this thing for so long at this point, I feel kind of underwhelmed about the entire finish line. This year was tough for me. I dealt with physical pains, struggles beyond that, and I feel as if I really need a restart. I don't really know what to do. I just feel like I'm losing again. With this emptiness, with a downfall even when it comes to YouTube, seeing dwindling views, I just want things to start over. To be given a second chance at this entire thing. Please, I just need some help. Yeah, a lot sucked. You don't need me to remind you again about what we just went through. But I realized that that help I was seeking was all around me. Through all the negative news stories, through all the things that had us in shock. And to that I say, I think we're more resilient than we think we are. There are many times this year where I just wanted to give up, throw in the towel. But I can't do that to my friends. I can't do that to my family. I can't do that to myself. In every mistake, I've been able to learn from it. In that way, I do have a confirmation on something. I believe that we are better people than we were yesterday.
Make an oath and make mistakes. Start a streak you're bound to break when darkness rolls on you. Push on through.
Well, you may remember 2024 as a year of bad news, but there was also great news this year that you might have missed. 20,000 Americans who didn't die of drug overdoses compared to last year's total. A 17% decline. The 24 states that raised their minimum wage this year. How the UK shut down its last coal plant. How you can now renew your passport online. The 800 school districts now using electric school buses for cleaner air and fewer child asthma cases. The first successful return from the dark side of the moon. How the hole in the ozone layer is healing faster than anyone expected. Have a joyous new year, and remember, bad news breaks suddenly, but good news happens everywhere, all the time.
Add some years, build some trust. You start to feel your eyes adjust when darkness rolls on you. Push on through.
Around this time of year, it's hard not to think of those we lost, family and friends most of all. Then there are the people who, in their own way, almost become like family to all of us. People from all walks of life, in all kinds of fields. We say a heartfelt hail and farewell.
The day after it happened, that scary thing, I had landed in Cleveland to see my friends. I told them what happened because it was plaguing my mind. And well, they were there for me. And they started making me feel better by just making jokes about it. And for the first time since it happened, I knew I could smile again. I kept thinking to myself, how far I've come since the beginning of the year. I struggled, really. But I realized that the younger me from years ago would be proud of how far I've come. Progress isn't linear. There are times where we have to fight to stay afloat, but we are also the masters of our own destiny and have to realize that there are aspects we can control, and I definitely think we can control where we're headed. There were points where I felt dread, scared of what could happen, what might happen. This moment of dread presented itself when I realized my dog was going to pass, when I felt true fear at the end of May, and also the panic in the aftermath of that event. But at the end of it all, by some miracle, I was able to get out of it with the help of friends and family. I went to places I had never been before. I met so many new friends, kept a lot of old friends, that I realized that I can never truly be in despair if I'm rich with so many great people in my life. People who care if I'm well, if I'm okay, and who always make sure that I don't succumb to sadness. It is a joy to be loved by so many wonderful and amazing people. I pushed on through, and as for you, my dear viewer, thank you for accompanying me on another amazing year here on Earth. I know you've struggled as well, and have had many wonderful moments. No year is perfect. That is an absolute. The trials you had to have faced have been grand as well, and you may wonder what's next. But as long as you have good people on your side and great voices to guide you, I know you're going to be okay. Thank you, my dear viewer, for everything. As we get older, I hope to keep seeing you here time after time. Just look at where you started from and look at you now. Trust me. However, we still have work to do. There's plenty of life left to live, for all of us. Sure, this year wasn't the biggest year for Zeepsterd ever, but it didn't have to be. As long as I have you guys and everyone else in my life, I know I'll be okay. Don't worry. Next year will be a big year for Zeepsterd. I just know it, because I know all will fall into place, as it has, time and time again, each and every single year. To my family, friends, and to all those I love very, very much, you are all one of a kind. Bless you all. Next year will be way better, I just know it. It'll be even bigger than whatever came before. By the time we reach December 31st, 2025, we will have fully completed the first quarter of the 21st century. Knowing that, we're going to be ready for the next 25 years as well. We'll be embracing each other as we always do on New Year's Eve, with all of us in a state of happiness. For the last time in 2024, I've been Larry. You all have an amazing 2025. Happy New Year, everyone!